that case was
Tells you what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Women maps ready?
No, I haven't.
All I have is, church.
You got Casey?
Oh, wait a minute. Yes, on the bottom.
Here comes one. Oops, didn't go very far.
There it
Got enough?
These are small enough.
Yep.
Each person can have one.
But Pat, the main, I guess I have two concerns with the plan. Tilton Township supervisors have asked for a traffic study on Route 257 intersection with Pelham Road. This project will be, the development is on Pelham Road. So it's a very difficult area to get to as far as traffic coming down 267 south. Actually, if there's a vehicle coming out of Pelham Road, there's no way we can get the car coming down into Pelham Road. It's almost like a one-lane intersection. So I have some concerns with that, and I also have concerns with putting explosives in a residential area. I know that there's no zoning in Tilton Township, but I still think that there's some issues with having a fireworks warehouse within a neighborhood of homes. I just think it doesn't make a lot of sense. Common sense prevails. Common sense would tell you that you don't put explosives in a neighborhood.
On that road that comes out of there, do they gotta get PennDOT approval on that?
I don't know. The township supervisors have asked PennDOT for a traffic study, and not sure what the status of that is at this point.
What's that for, Bernie? Why did they ask? Is it for this development?
It's because of that development, yes. Because they have concerns as well
Okay.
about the ability for traffic to turn in. What happens is it's a blind,
Yeah,
a blind area.
I've seen it, yeah.
When you come over this knoll, you're within a few hundred feet of Pelham Road. And if traffic backs up at all, if you have a school bus sitting there, for instance, waiting for somebody to come up, there could be a tremendous accident there with tractor trailers coming south on 267. There's no way to warn anybody if there's traffic stops over that knoll. And if it gets backed up from Pelham Road, it could result in a very serious accident.
Did you talk to the supervisors then about, like you said, they asked PennDOT for a traffic study?
Yeah.
Do they know, does Bill Oven or anybody know?
I talked to Bill Doven, who said that Rudy Mattis actually asked for it,
Right.
so
He's on the transportation.
right, and so I asked him, do we know when the study is going to be held? And he said that Rudy identified the problem with PennDOT at the Northern Tier Transportation meeting in November, and they are in the process of working on it. I don't know if there's a date. I don't know how that works.
Now, this is the drawing that there's
Yeah, this is the store, parking, and Pelham Road, which is what Bernie's talking about, out this way, it's 267. This is a township road. This is a housing development. Anything that wasn't sold.
There's four on there. Bernie Cross.
Bernie Cross in the back.
neighboring property.
So there's 6 houses on Meadow Lane that are vicinity to this new facility.
I doubt that PennDOT would give you a driveway permit for that turn.
That's what I'm thinking.
They're both township roads.
No, 267 is a state road.
Yeah, state
No,
house.
but what is showing here is.
Yeah, but this is probably 500 or 600 feet east of there. where you have to turn onto Kellum Road from 267. If you're coming from the north, it's about 135-degree turn. And if you're coming from the south, it's 45-degree turn. So, but I would imagine building in this area so close to the state line, where the population center is in New York State. And I think that's where most of the business will come from. Is there anybody here for this? Mr. Small, or?
He might be here later on.
Because I'd like to ask him where the supplies are going to come from and where he expects most of the people that are going to be buying these fireworks to come from. I drove down in there today, coming from New York State. And I have a small pickup truck. If there was somebody coming out of that road, I'd have to wait until they got out of the way before I could make the turn. Or I'd have to get over in the other lane of 267.
When the school buses come down 267 going south, and they want to turn into Kellum Road, they actually have to go into the northbound lane in order to make the swing to come in. That's how tight it is. I don't know how you're going to service that, with tractor trailers or big trucks or whatever. I don't know how you're going to service that facility either.
There's something else I just noticed on the map here, 9/10 of an acre. I thought an acre was the smallest
For
lot.
commercial or non-residential can be.
Can be less than an acre? Okay.
There's no neighboring properties on here, that all has to be listed.
Well, I think the guy owns
He owns
He-
everything
around-
except for
around a lot.
the road.
I think he purchased 10 acres.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah.
I used to work at that farm that this piece of property is on, and drove a milk truck, and we hauled feed one day a week. And when we would come from Vestal, New York, to turn up Kellum Road, we never used the actual intersection. We took the man's driveway, which is right next to just past the Kellum Road, and went down and went around a barn and went back out onto another access onto Kellum Road. And that was with a single axle rear. It wasn't a big truck.
Anybody else on the board have further concerns with the bridge? I still think, even though I don't 10 or 20 acres.
Yeah, that's.
It has to show,
It's supposed to have a location.
yeah, it should have a location.
I understood there was a survey done and there's no reference to
Yeah,
that.
I looked up first it was Bernie Costa, it was Randy Catters. They actually, Scott Williams did it, and your name was on it, and it was Esky before that. There's been a bunch of surveys done. If you want to see that on the map, that
Well,
would be reasonable.
it should be referenced, Because again, we're, got an engineer's stamp on here.
And then the neighboring lands, yeah, they have to be listed.
And we are supposed to be concerned with the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, and safety is a big concern with that intersection.
With the lack of sight distances.
Pardon me?
The lack of sight distances and the lack of space.
Well, it's just such a, such a sharp turn, almost coming back to where you're coming from.
Yeah. Ted Nancy was the supervisor. Bridgewater Township has, some commercial development going on occasionally on a township road. In fact, we have one on the agenda. When they issue a permit for that development, Eleanor and I are kind of in the understanding that they have to meet with PennDOT also to make sure that their road coming out to the PennDOT has the proper permit. about that? Is that true, or just have to do with 706 or something? I don't know. You know, my question is, Chocolate Township, in giving a driveway permit, is saying it's okay to use Cullen Road for commercial development, even though they know, as Bernie's saying, that it's a lousy intersection and they're going to increase traffic.
Any driveway that depend on
When your road meets PennDOT road, is it supposed to have a driveway permit for that road to meet the PennDOT road? Both.
Township roads are supposed to,
Both,
but I don't know if they do.
yeah.
What's the site there? 500 feet.
I'm not sure.
You know, line of sight, what is that? I
Well,
thought-
we've had several on 267 where they had the, well, that Knoll, remember back here several months ago, we couldn't turn right yet, turn left, now we're driving left. That's our 267. But in our road, it's PennDOT road. Or we could, never get in the subdivision, yeah, now you turn left, you could turn right.
The site distance is based on the speed limit of the road. And John Siemens told me, working around Clark Summit a lot, I never experienced this myself, but that if PennDOT does a traffic study and the traffic is going faster than the speed limit, they can raise the site distance. Because people are driving faster than, I can tell you people drive faster than the speed limit on that road. The speed limit's 45, and if you're going 45, you get a run over.
All right, what else?
Okay. I'd like to just talk about that rehab one just a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. This is at Tiffany Corners along 706, the intersection of 706 and McCollum Road in Bridgewater Township. And it's a townhouse development issue, site plan. C200 is the site plan. Now, we've been talking to Dennis Phelps at Trehab. Trehab is the agency that's doing this. It's funded by the Pennsylvania Housing Finance, PHFA agency. And same one that funds a lot of the housing authorities projects. Now, Dennis has been talking about this for a long time, and I've spoken to Dennis Phelps. He's the executive director of Trehab. It's 6.71 acres. And they're putting 41 townhouses plus a road and cul-de-sac on this land. And I said to Dennis numerous times, are you sure that your engineers are looking at the density, the amount of open space according to the ordinance? And finally, on Friday, I mentioned it to him again, and he said, because I had reviewed the plan, and in my recommendation is to table it, because the engineer is not anywhere in this, multitude of pages. Nowhere did they tell us that the basic premise of this development meets the requirements for density. Can they put 41 townhouses on 6.71 acres and still maintain 40% open land, which is what the ordinance calls for? Okay? Maybe you can. Just show it. Just show us the calculations. So yesterday I got a letter from the engineer, and I'll read it. Okay? It says, as per your request, I have completed the following review of the Susquehanna County subdivision land development ordinance in respect to density and open land requirements. The Susquehanna County Subdivision Land Development Ordinance, Article 6, Design Standards contains the standards to which Tiffany Pines project has been designed. On page 6.4, table 6.1, townhouses, the minimum project parcel is 1 acre, which they obviously meet, and the maximum density is 6 units per acre. Tiffany Pines project currently proposes the development of 40 townhouses, I said 41, on 6.97 acres, which is a density of 5.74 units per acre. So dividing the acreage by the number of houses, yeah, it meets it, that's fine. There is not a listed requirement under Article 6 which references minimum open land. No, you have to look at the definition of multifamily development for that. And then that refers you to Article 8. It's my understanding that the Tiffany Pines project has been designed in compliance with all the standards in the ordinance. So he's telling us that it meets Article 6. Okay, fine. The ordinance also contains Article 8, land conservation and multifamily developments. If you look at the definition of multifamily developments, it's townhouses. It's any development where there are multiple dwellings within one building, and that's what a townhouse development is. In my opinion, this is a multifamily development. Okay, he goes on. It's my understanding that this section of the ordinance was implemented to provide developers a special set of guidelines that, if followed, would allow for a density bonus of 15% higher than the density requirements provided in Article 6, which is true. That Article 8 is that land conservation thing where if you group your houses together, you can put them closer together, get more houses in order to leave open space. That's the first part of Article 8. The second part deals with multifamily development. Let's see, then Tiffany Pines has no reason to apply because it already meets for that 15% bonus because it already meets the requirements. So again, he's saying that they meet the requirements and that it shouldn't have to meet Article 8. Then he goes on to say, as per your request to Dennis Phelps, we've calculated the total open land area with Tiffany Pines project, which complies with the definition in Article 8, page 8-8, within section 801.5A. The total project site is 6.97 acres with a total open land area of 2.86 acres, which is 41% of the proposed parcel. The open end area does not include areas, get the ordinance, that fall within the 8 defined areas to be deducted from open land listed on page 8.8. There's, in order to count, I don't know if you remember when, next door to this, there was, Patty Aiken wanted to do a modular home park. This was like up the hill, or up this way from this. Her engineer at the time, Mark Dieter from Scranton, came to the Planning Commission meeting a couple of times to work on this with us and show that what he was proposing met the ordinance as far as this Article 8 density stuff. So you have to, for multifamily dwellings, you refer back to certain sections. You have to take out, you get the total area of the land, and then you remove from that land within public rights of way, 70% of wetlands. I don't think there's any wetlands there. Land within 100-year floodplain, there may not be any there. Land with the slope of more than 25%, there may be some. Any pond or lake, and 70% of easements or overhead, telephone, cable, and the roadway, the rights of way, like the roadway. So I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, I promise. Attached to this letter, which tells us that he doesn't have to comply with Article 8, he's got a map here dated October 6th of this year. Article 8, areas defined as open land within Article 8, Section 801.5A of the ordinance, and he's showing back in October that he says it meets the requirement. Now, I'm going to pass that around. Maybe John, take a look at it. He's got some steep slopes there, which he's saying.
There's 50 feet of elevation change.
Yeah, I don't know if that's 25% or more or not, but it just, sorry, it kind of annoyed me that he's saying, first of all, you're all wet, and then includes a map showing that it meets the ordinance. Now, it may meet the ordinance, but just show the calculations. Show us how much land there is in wetland, if any. Say 0 if there's none. Show us how much land is being, yes, What's the percentage there? I don't know.
1,600. They're at 17.
Is it more than 25%? And he doesn't, on that map, he doesn't show how much land area there is in the roadway.
That's what I can't read it.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it may meet the ordinance requirement, but we have no way of knowing.
1645, this is just a thank you for it.
Right, this is what they want to put in.
1705.
Here's one here.
Sixty feet is,
This was like 4.
yeah. Well, 60 feet in how many? No, 60. What's the?
That's 60 feet of elevation.
Okay.
From that property line to this property.
Okay.
But no, I have to go with this one.
Yeah, my point is that the engineer should be showing that.
This is part of that.
I'm sorry?
This is part of that land that is going to be.
It's part of the land, but it's not the same, it's part of the land. They're gonna divide, well, they're taking out a subdivision right now for a minor subdivision, just to divide into 6 subdivisions. So it's not the same land that she was proposing. It's down by the road where they're storing pipes and all, and right alongside the thing. Yeah, the railroad bed is shown, yeah. Yeah, Ed knows his property.
Yeah, this was really good.
Because it's gonna increase traffic.
And the rail trail.
That's also.
It's, yeah, it's like over that way, on this map. If you go down the Culver Road, it's a little. Great. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I'm just saying,
That's what we gotta divide.
maybe it might be the ordinance is just, why can't he show us the calculation so we can verify?
I don't think it plans. They just need to.
He doesn't even have a building sign. Site plan.
Yeah, that's the American snow trail.
Yeah, they can agree people next to it, one line for the sewer line. So, you know, connect to the sewer. Yeah. Bring the water out there too. Well, I recommend the table, just, I mean, the whole plan is for, 40 or 41, whatever it is, townhouses on a certain piece of land. Show us that that can be done. That's like the first, the basic calculation that needs to be done. And you get that many townhouses, so that you can have 40% open space. Because that's where you're getting at.
Yeah, were you able to find out the distance? I can't see anything.
I couldn't read the numbers on that. This one here,
I come up with 60 feet slope on.
well, it
the
goes
topo
from,
map.
what was it, it was clear on this other one.
1645 to 1705.
No,
We're just driving by it, you know, there's lots of stuff.
Yeah. Correct, is it 25%? Because he's in see, he's including all that slope in here, and that's, you're not supposed to do that. Land with a slope of more than 25% has to be not included as open land. 24 and a half.
But we can ask them, it's gonna get tabled because,
That's up to you.
but we can ask them
The
the distances are.
the thing is, the ordinance calls for 40% of open land, okay? And you have to show how you're leaving 40% of open land.
So this is
No.
they call this in.
Right, I would say, if they don't have the building size, you don't listen to that either. I mean, if they have 86 pages of erosion and septic, which you don't approve, and, you know, 1 page of site development. Yeah. Come on. For 4 minutes? Okay, here's one for 4 minutes. Acre Lake Veterinary Hospital. It's at the corner of Forest Street and 106. When the planning commission took the tour to see the Zic compressor, we came out Forest Street and we met 106 and turned up. Okay. It's right there at that intersection on the south side, okay? The gentleman, or the lady that owns the property, I don't know the full story, but there was a gentleman hired to, as a project manager, they have a modular building, they want to put it on that piece of land that's almost there already. Okay? And they're going to make a veterinary hospital clinic. They went to the township supervisors, Leonard Wheatley, who is their building permit person for Lennox Township, and said, what do we need to do? And he said, I will give you a building permit and you go build it. And you use this driveway off of Forest Street, which is a state road. The township supervisor said, use this driveway, cut across the house, because if you were going to put a driveway right into the hospital, it's too close to 106, which is true. So he told them, use this driveway, I'll give you a building permit and build it. So they started building it. They leveled the ground, it's there. Okay. It was brought to my attention, what's that building on 106 and Forest Street? So I talked to Sharon Depew, who's the secretary of Lennox Township, she works in the clerk house. She said, I don't know, let me call Leonard and find out. We found out it was a vet hospital. Never told the band to come to the planning commission. So he came in, he was all apologetic, obviously. He said, I'll do whatever what do I need to do? I'll do it. But the thing is ready to go. So this is backwards. This is playing catch up. It's there. It was given a building permit by the township supervisor. Yeah, but it's not the first time, probably won't be the last.
Right. At least.
We've got 3 brand-new township supervisors in our township, and they don't have a foggiest idea what, is required in a lot of this stuff.
Oh, you'll be there
Well-
to teach them.
I'll have to go talk to them.
Well, John and I were talking about this, and John mentioned, how about a letter or something, and that's what we're gonna do. The first of the year, we always send out a letter asking the township for, your updated information. I'm going to include something this year, just a little, something small that hopefully they'll read, that, if there's a question, just have them call us. And Bill Scheidler does that. Bill with Cobb, if he has a question and he's not sure, he'll just tell the people to call him. Many times, no, it doesn't require anything. It's just putting a small addition on the building. But he knows enough to tip them off the calls. That's what happens. That's that. 10 truck garage and Andy Vaccaro, those are just final approvals for commercial developments. You've probably seen the 10 truck garage. Okay. Yeah, he moved that business from Susquehanna.
operation yesterday.
Glad that that's everybody. He's late up to it.
Can we talk about the...
Whoa. Before you start the meeting, are we gonna be able to make comments during the meeting?
Not during the meeting, I'm gonna read your petitions
Did
here.
you extend the work session then, or?
No, we can't.
Well, can you have
Well,
comments?
you skipped the second item on the list, which is
Yeah.
I'm gonna read that I'm gonna read your petitions in the,
Well, I brought my petition with me.
all right, go ahead. Bring your, can I see your petition?
Well, my petition is verbal, but I'll give it to you. Last week at the meeting, Helen Humphreys from H&K gave the decibel readings of the different parameters around the Lathrop station, 1 through 5. Two people who've been complaining the most about the Lathrop station is myself and Jerry Donatochi. And you can see my house location here. No readings were taken on the north side of the building. They avoided doing that. If you look at position number 4,
Oh, clear from where they
yeah, yeah,
They took the decibel here.
here. Okay, and here's my house. I've been complaining, and here's Jerry's house. If you go from 4 to 5, you go up 9.9 dBs. If you go beyond that point, I hate to tell you what it's going to be, because all the noise emits to the north, and they excluded that. And according to the regulations, it should be taken from the residents. And they took all the readings from the road, not the residents. So that's why I want to bring this up. And there were some other numbers in here which I don't understand, because they had higher dB readings. Now, I had a meeting at the Elk Lake School. I had an opportunity with Mr. Winshew and Mr. Hall to talk to Mike Dickinson. He's the regional manager for Williams. And Mr. Hall asked him, why don't you put up a barrier to stop the sound? And he says the barrier will be ineffective because the noise that comes from the station is a low-frequency sound waves. Low-frequency sound waves up to 150 dBs. If you look at it, will travel around obstacles. They don't go through obstacles. Those low-frequency sound waves can cause health issues, sleep deprivation. They can cause headaches, nausea, and it was an effective tool used by the Allies during World War II against Germany. If they had entrenched troops, they would use low-frequency sound waves to make them irritable. And that's what it's experiencing. And if you go back and look in, if I may read something, in your purpose, the ordinance is adopted to protect and promote the health and safety and the general welfare of the citizens of Susquehanna County by establishing regulations to allow the proper controlled development of the county, to provide the environmental protection, and to ensure the proper provision of community facilities. Regulations for specific types of development for which the addition of standards have been deemed necessary are intended to protect the rights of the residents of the county and enjoy a clean air, pure water, natural, scenic, historic, and aesthetic values of the environment. And you know, that's something that is extremely important. And the duties, in the duties of the county, the powers of the Plan Commission, by law, you have to act on their submittal by 90 days. And all I'm asking is, with the 3 stations, we have no idea what the shield station is going to emit in sound, how it's constructed. It's very vague. Again, we don't know what's going to be developed or what noise is going to be emitted from the church compression station. So in order for us to gain facts on this, I'm asking that the committee defer, at least at this meeting, voting on that particular item. And that's it. Thank you very much. I just feel there's enough warrant just to take a second look at what's going on in the area. I know that you have to follow the rules and regulations, but this great country of ours, sometimes you always didn't follow the rules and regulations. You have to do what was right, and I'm asking you to do that.
We'll bring that up, Paul.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, the meeting will come to order.
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think it's only right that we'll take a moment of silence for what happened today on Friday. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so in January, we'll elect officers again for the 2013, we need a nominating committee. Would anybody want to volunteer to be on the nominating committee? Yeah, Ernie or John or Dick. We need two more. Okay, everybody should have gotten the minutes from the previous meeting. If anybody has any questions or concerns, we'll address them.
I'd like you to speak a little louder so we can hear what's going on.
I'll try to, Gary. The minutes from the previous meeting, does anybody have any questions or concerns?
You get a chance to review them, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the minutes.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Minutes from the previous meeting are approved. Communications, the same thing. Everybody should have got a copy of them. If anybody has any questions or concerns, we'll address them.
Yeah, it was short this month. And the shaded areas are ones that I received since sending them last week.
This hasn't been for a month either.
No, it's a short one.
Is there a motion?
Also move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Communications from the previous meeting are approved. Director's report, same thing. Everybody should have got a copy. If anybody has any questions or concerns, we'll address them.
I'll make a motion to accept the director's report.
Is there a second? Second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Director's report is approved. Deputy Director's report, same thing. If anybody has any questions or concerns, we'll address them at this time. Is there a motion?
I so moved.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Deputy Director's report is approved. Under old business, subdivision and land development, there's two, the Penelec Truck Garage Facility and Andrew Vaquero Inlet Mountain Specialty.
This is kind of like. Okay. At the June 26, 2012 meeting, the Planning Commission granted preliminary approval of the Penelec Truck Garage Commercial Development of State Route 706 in Bridgewater Township, conditioned on receipt of an NPDES permit from the Conservation District Office if required, and receipt of the municipality report form from the Bridgewater Township supervisors within the commission's allowable review period. Following the meeting, the municipality report form was received, and the Conservation District Office determined that no NTDF permit was required since the total earth disturbance was less than 1 acre. Therefore, the conditions for preliminary approval were met. Now the development is complete, and Penelec has requested final approval of their plan. The staff visited the site on December 9th and found it to be developed in accordance with the approved preliminary plan. Therefore, the staff recommendation is grant final approval of the Penelec truck garage facility in Bridgewater Township.
Chairman, I make a motion at this time to grant the final approval of the Penelec truck garage facility in Bridgewater Township. Be familiar with the location and construction, and it appears to be constructed as begun. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Approval is given to Penelec truck garage commercial development, Bridgewater Township. Thank you.
Yeah. I got it down here. That's the next one.
Yeah.
You have this one?
Are you going to read the Carol and?
Yeah, well,
That's next.
yeah, the next one is Andrew's Carolyn.
Okay. At the November 29, 2009 meeting, the Planning Commission granted preliminary approval of the Vaquero Andes Mountain Specialty Industrial Land Development along TR 706 Old Country Road in Bridgewater Township. The business is being moved from the Susquehanna Depot area to Bridgewater Township. Now the building is complete, and Mr. Vaquero has requested final approval of the plan. The staff visited the site on December 9th and found it to be developed in accordance with the approved preliminary plan. Staff recommendation, grant final approval of the Vaquero Endless Mountain Specialty Industrial Development in Bridgewater Township. And like we said, Mr. Vaquero had a hernia operation yesterday, and so he couldn't be here this evening.
Mr. Chairman, this is another one of my area of responsibility, and it's a straightforward development, and everything seems to be in order. It's been checked out by the staff and myself.
Make a motion to grant final approval of the Carroll Endless Mountain Specialty Industrial Development in Bridgewater, Tennessee.
I got a question. Is there anything in there referring to a land surveyor? You've got portions and distances on this? Any of his correspondence? With the survey being done with a map someplace? The reason I say this is, basically, this license is in jeopardy. If he puts survey data on this map without a survey license, unless he refers it to a survey map done by somebody else, if some competitor were to find this in the courthouse and take it to the registration board, he could be fined and lose and have his license suspended for a period of time.
I doubt that there's
Is there anything
anything,
in the
if it's
file?
done on the map, I doubt it.
See me?
Yeah.
As an engineer, he cannot put survey information on a map. Other than that, I have no problem with it. Other than that, I'm just being,
He does a good job, we don't want him running into trouble.
Yeah.
Now let's take a look at the final.
Mr. Chairman, I amend my motion to add pending applicable information concerning survey dimensions as listed on the property. Is there a who's second? Is there a second?
Bernie did.
Bernie, okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Approval is given pending the information that's coming from our Leander Vaquero Endless Mountain Specialty Industrial Development in Bridgewater Township.
Yeah. Well, you might as well not sign these ones. We're gonna need more information on the map, right, John? Bernie?
It should refer to a survey or have a surveyor stamp on there, yeah.
That's, I won't use that, don't we? I have to get it, I'll send it over to you.
Yeah, send it to me, I'll mail it back. Okay,
So do that.
report on finalized conditional approvals, there is none at this time. Under new business subdivision and land development review, the first one we have is Bob with Baker Lake Veterinarian Hospital.
Same in here. Of course, these are business. Okay, Doris Dew, 4708 Forest Street, Kingston, PA, has proposed a commercial development of her lands in Lennox Township at the intersection of State Route 2020 and State Route 106. Mrs. Dew intends to develop the land with a 38 by 60-foot modular building to be used as a veterinary hospital. In reviewing the plan, the following items are called to your attention. Number one, by definition, this is a commercial development. Number two, application affidavit of ownership and filing fee have been received. Number three, site development plans were prepared by Carlos Schneller, P.E. of Friendsville, PA. Number four, Ms. Dew proposes to develop the land with a 38-foot by 60-foot modular building, which will be used as a veterinary hospital. A gravel parking lot is proposed with spaces for 9 cars, including 1 space for handicap parking. Based on the building size, the 11 parking spaces would be required as per the ordinance. However, due to the nature of the business, the owner believes that the number of spaces proposed will be sufficient for that type of business and is asking for a waiver of section 706.6L. Number 5, access to the site is by way of an existing private driveway off of State Route 2020. This driveway was installed when the owner's house was built approximately 10 years ago. Number 6, a building permit for this development was issued on November 8, 2012 by the Lennox Township Supervisor and Building Code Officer Leonard Wheatley. A sewer permit was issued on October 8, 2012 by their SEO, Tom Button, who is also the county's chief assessor. According to the project manager, Mr. Wheatley told the developer that the existing driveway of the house should be used rather than to apply for a new driveway. Since the ordinance requires a copy of a driveway permit from the appropriate agency, the owner is requesting a waiver of that requirement, section 403 or 402.3N, since they are using the existing driveway as recommended by the supervisor and building code inspector. And number 7, the Lennox Township Supervisors were notified on December 3rd and returned municipality report form on December 4th with no objections. Staff recommendation is grant the waivers of section 706.6L, number of parking spaces, and section 402.3N, driveway permit, grant preliminary approval of the Anchor Lake Veterinary Hospital commercial development in Lennox Township.
I have a problem with the driveway permit. It's on a state road, so how,
I understand.
how is the township supervisor have any authority?
They don't.
And now you're changing from residential to a commercial. I just think that PennDOT should be involved to approve or disapprove a driveway permit. That's just my.
Because of the change from a.
Because this is
Because it's a pre-existing permit, but it's a.
It was for a house.
It'll be a new.
And now you're going to have people coming for a vet hospital. So I know that's just my personal opinion. They should, or else they should produce the driveway permit for their house.
Well, I think it should be ran by PennDOT. I don't like variances. And the other thing is the parking lot, there's 2 more parking spaces, and they got enough room to create the 2 more parking spaces. So I wouldn't give them the variance for that. I'm gonna vote against that. As far as the driveway permit, I agree with Nancy. It goes to PennDOT.
Have they tried to go through PennDOT and not be able to get it?
Is there anybody here?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
We have special circumstances where we wanted to get this business up and going in a hurry. And having talked to the township supervisors for this, I mean, I assumed that they knew what they were doing. From what I heard from before the meeting, it doesn't look that way. In the future, we would plan on going through PennDOT to get the permits. And possibly even look at going at 106, but that's, at that intersection, it's very busy and it'd be easier to go up on Forest. It's just, right now, the business is not up and going, and that's the main thing. We want to get it up and going.
It is a busy intersection, because I know for a fact that the school bus that comes down Forest Road is not allowed to turn left on 106. She has to go straight across onto Bartholomew Road and then go all the way around to pick up my grandchildren. Because of not being allowed to turn left there by the gate for Lake Store. I don't know if that was a school board decision or whatever. You know, it is a busy intersection.
That line of sight, you don't know.
I don't know. All I know is that the school bus isn't allowed to turn left. I think it's probably a school district ruling rather than, something like that.
Is there a residence on this Doris Due property?
Yeah, the driveway is for the residents. The driveway goes to the house. And then they're cutting actually across the front yard of the house to get over to the vet hospital.
The existing structure is the house.
It's hard to see that on the map.
What's here?
The existing
Existing
structure.
structure, right, that's how, where's the driveway?
Right down here.
Oh, okay, coming in here.
This is one of the forest.
Well, where the existing driveway, where does it extend once the line stops here? Where does it, how does it get back to the parking? Through here?
No, the parking goes to, you go in the existing driveway, make a left, make that first left.
Oh, okay, so you make a left here.
Yeah, it goes, it cuts in front of the house, and then the parking area is in front of the vet hospital.
And the existing driveway just goes through this house
So
again.
it goes to the house and it goes to the,
Yeah, there's a parking area, I think on the right-hand side of the house. That's where the modulars were when I was there.
What's everybody feel? I feel that there shouldn't be variances given, that's my own opinion.
What variance are you talking about?
The variance for the parking space, and we don't have approval, we're given approval for a residential driveway parking. And there should be 11 parking spaces, I think.
And if with this business, you very seldom have two clients there at the same time.
But if you turn around and sell that business to somebody else, and there's 9 parking spaces, and we allow that, then we have a problem. How do we go back on that? We don't have anybody that polices that or goes and looks at it.
Well, it'd be the parking spaces that they bought when they
Yeah.
bought the place.
But if
You bought 9, you got 9.
But you got a variance in there. I don't think,
Limit your business, just limit the amount of parking spaces you got.
it goes by the square footage of the building.
Well, we don't necessarily always done that.
That's where we're accounting for, because we're planning for the future, not just for the present individuals.
If you were buying that, and there was 9 parking spaces, a building there, you expect 20 spaces, I mean, you're buying 9.
But I don't think that's a big issue to put the 2 more spaces in where he needs there. He's got the property. I think the biggest issue is the driveway permit. Because that could create a liability.
And that's the driveway permit,
Township.
it's not something that we can
Everybody
do.
said it's okay.
Yeah, but
To bring up something, if you were in a commercial property, like a shopping mall, and they added another building, do they have to get another driveway permit for that?
I would think they would have to plan for that when they built that development. You know, they'd have an expansion, there would be so much room for, and I'm just guessing at that.
But that would be the square footage of the development.
Yeah,
If it's more than 25%, then it kicks it into our ordinance, the county's ordinance. I know what you're saying, though.
Do you know if there's been an application made to PennDOT for a driveway permit?
It was going to take several months before they could get an engineer there to look at it.
I know PennDOT can be awful slow and awful hard to deal with at times, but
I'll bet you won't find the existing permit at PennDOT. Assume they have lost the record.
Forest Road, a state road?
Yeah.
2020, that would be.
State road, state road. Very fun.
Are you operating a veterinarian facility someplace else right now, or how's this gonna impact your business? Is this all brand new to you and everybody, or are you someplace else right now that?
We are in flux right now, waiting for the business to open. We have to get the buildings finished. The previous clinic has shut down, and the vet is relocating.
What do you wanna do? Do you have anything, Harry, on this? This isn't your area.
I know it is, I have not seen it. I'm on the side of the square, the driveway permit. It's essential.
I think that's important for liability for us. The parking spaces, I don't, 2 more parking spaces doesn't make it or break it.
So I have
Vern?
When you look at 2 parking spaces and you do the percentages, the 2 are a pretty big percentage. So at some point down the road, if we have one that somebody says we want to be able to have 10% fewer parking spaces than the ordinance requires, we have a precedent for the approval.
See, that's the problem I have with variances. That you're providing a condition and down the road.
If we had a chance to see this as a preliminary plan, we would have been able to think these things out, but we didn't.
John?
I'm not comfortable voting for it, I'll tell you that much. With the entrance, the veterinary hospital, I can't see that the parking is gonna be a problem for that, but it might be in the future. And I also know that PennDOT is very difficult to deal with, getting driveway permits, so.
We've heard that on other plans that came through the planning commission too. And that is difficult, it takes a lot of time.
And that's how it was explained to us, and that's why we initiated the use of the existing driveway. And the owner has every intention of hiring the engineer when time is allotted to come in off Forest Street. And Nancy, if you see the way we erected all the stone for a safety barrier because of the speed of the vehicles in the intersection, we know the safety concerns are most important. But again, in the interest of time, we were told that we could utilize the existing driveway until time was allotted to get the engineer, which we were told was a minimum of $5,000 to do the survey to come off Forest Street, not 106. 106 is too busy. But to,
Who's going to charge $5,000?
that's what we were told the engineer would cost. And the time was a lot of time to do the survey in reference to getting a new driveway off Forest Street, not 106.
Is there a driveway permit existing for the house?
Like it was read in the minutes, it's been there for 10 years.
No, but did you get was there a driveway permit issued 10 years ago when the house was built?
Oh, we don't know that.
I would doubt very much that you would ever get a driveway permit off Forest Road with this intersection being right here and an existing driveway. They don't want another driveway within 600 feet. Now, they might possibly let you put a driveway right next door to the existing one. They have done that in some of the subdivisions of the past, where they split up a big property, put two driveways side by side, and then 600 feet or more to another two driveways side by side. But to put a driveway directly, I can't see PennDOT allowing that.
That's why they were going with the existing driveway.
Right.
But would PennDOT allow them to use the existing driveway and then split when they get on the property? I think they would.
If you allow it, widen that section up to the point where you turn left. Widen the existing, then you pin that wall on the left.
So I thought PennDOT would let them use the existing.
You did hire a surveyor and engineer?
For the driveway, no, sir.
Well, that would be my suggestion, that see if you could get a hold of PennDOT and have your engineer or yourself, see if they would give you some variance or something to let you
I
operate.
had talked to PennDOT in August, and they said it would be after the first of the year before they could have anybody even look at it.
See, our hands are tied.
Isn't there someone here in North Rose
Yeah.
that issues the permits?
Sal Donato. Sal Donato, right, Bob?
Saldonado is the same person that told you and subdividers that he would give a permit after the planning commission approved the lot.
Which we
You
can't
remember
do.
that a few months ago?
How do you do that?
That's what Saldonado from PennDOT said, and the planning commission a few months ago waived the requirement for a driveway permit in Dimmitt Township, Springville. Lennox. Was that where, okay, yes, it was Lennox, yeah, I was thinking it was, okay.
And this would be the second one in August.
That was the map that said they were gonna get the driveway permit after the
Yep.
building
That
was
Saldonado
after the
from
property
PennDOT
was
told the
transferred.
lady, who was it, Harry?
Dorothy Gates.
Gates. Only a few months ago.
You want to get with that Saldonado and get a letter on PennDOT letterhead and get it into it.
Did she get a driveway permit later then?
The planning commission approved it without the driveway permit. Dorothy Gates.
Or gave her the waiver? Okay.
Because Saldonado told her he would not give her a permit until after she had it in a separate deeded parcel. I recommended not approving it, the planning commission approved it. That was only a few months ago. Very few months ago.
I remember it very clearly.
Yeah, John made the motion.
And because it was this catch-22 situation.
Yep.
And if they weren't budging, we'd be redistricting.
He's told other people that too. Saldonado has told other applicants the same thing. They come to our office and say, what do I do?
Seems like he worked for somebody, and just get to his boss and find out what's
Yeah.
going on.
Yeah. We've never had
Is he
that. before.
legislating, or what's he
We've
enforcing?
never had that before. They've always worked with us.
Well, remember the time that Denny Bone had down here in Fairdale to get a driveway permit? He was supposed to close off his driveway to his barn floor and like that, and he finally got George Roberts. And he was the one that gave him a driveway permit. He's on up higher than what he's
What do you
done yet.
What do you think on this?
I think we should have a driveway permit.
Well, you can.
They're back in that same catch-22 situation.
You'd like to drive there from that to,
Okay.
Being it's a commercial development.
Yeah. Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
Also move.
For a second? The motion is to deny it?
For conditioned on driveway permit, how do you
Or
want?
Yeah, we can put condition on the driveway permit. I'd like to see that you have room for the 2 spaces there. It's not, there's not a problem.
Question on the motion. What about the granting of the waiver section 706.6L?
What's that?
Well, the number of parking spaces. Does that go with this or?
I think it should.
Yeah.
Gonna have waiver, but then make this condition on PennDOT.
Okay, well, that's what I was getting at.
I'll amend the motion.
Spaces will be all right.
To include that, the way the third party, that's it. We'll change it, approve it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign.
I understand that, you granted the waiver of the parking, the waiver on the parking spaces, but not on the driveway permit.
Right.
Now, is that the preliminary approval that is conditioned on that driveway permit? Or is it final approval?
No, the preliminary.
Because the building's already.
The building's
built,
already
you can't
there,
take it down,
yeah.
so.
So we'd be back, I was thinking we'd be back next month for a final meeting.
There is a municipal liaison, Ed Sumsky, that is in Dunmore. I don't have his number with me, but your township secretary or one of the supervisors should have his phone number. His name is Ed Sumsky. And he's in Dunmore. That's who, I'm a township secretary and a township supervisor, and that's who, if I have any questions, that's who I call. And he's usually, I can't say that he's always been very helpful. But you could, give him a call. Probably the Dunmore office is in the phone book.
Okay.
I mean, I have a direct number to his desk, but I don't have that with me, but.
Okay, the next one we have is William Field Service Company LLC, Polish National Church Industrial Land Development Compressor Station, in Dimick Township, requesting conditional preliminary approval. And with that, I got 2 letters to read. Both of these are a petition to the Planning Commission. Dear Mr. Templeton and all members of the Susquehanna County Planning Commission, our children attending Rocking Horse Daycare in Dimick, PA, we understand there is a great possibility that a 3rd compressor station will be built in our Elk Lake School District. We already have 2 stations called the Lathrop and Shields very close to our school. Now a 3rd one, to be called the Church Compressor Station, is in the planning stages. We as parents of young children which will be attending Elk Lake in the near future have many concerns. We are asking at the meeting this Tuesday, December 18th, to please postpone the permit that Williams is asking for the building this compressor station. We would like some time to discuss with our PA DEP some serious questions about having these stations too close to our school. We are hoping to receive information about dealing with the air, water, and soil conditions when these 3 plants are built so close together and near our school. Thank you, the parents of preschool age, school age children. There's 3 signatures on there, and if I mispronounce your name, it looks like Ryan Kipp, Tiffany Newman, and it looks like something King, TJ King, I'm not sure. The second petition I have is Dear Chairman Ahern, Mr. Templeton, and all members of the Susquehanna County Planning Commission. The Springville Area Women's Club members are very concerned about the possibility of another compressor station planning to be built by Williams Corporation on the lands very close to Elk Lake School. There are 2 compressor stations, Lathrop Shields, in the proximity of our school. We understand Williams is seeking another permit for a third to be built called the Church Compressor Station. 3 compressor stations within a mile range of the Elk Lake School is a proposal that we would appreciate the Susquehanna Planning Board give their time to investigate before giving the permit to Williams. We have written to the PA DEP to request a public meeting so our Elk Lake School Administration, Board of Education, parents, taxpayers, and all those concerned may have the opportunity to ask questions and learn the regulations the DEP can enforce to protect our community. This being said, a December 18th meeting of your board is scheduled. We are asking for you and your board members to please consider postponing any permits until many concerns are answered. Thank you for your consideration in this matter. Sincerely, the members of the Springville Area Women's Club. Looks like it's Paula Dean, maybe, Susan Kerr, Sharon Datton, Beverly Grove, James Greenter, Gunter. Carey is the last name, I believe. Looks like a Sue King, Janice Edwards, Avens, Kathy Coppage. I can't read the next one. Okay.
Does anyone want to see the large copy of the compressor station? Those are the small versions.
It should give.
This is the other one, if anybody wants to see. Williams Field Services Company, LLC, 1605 Cortopoulos Heights Road, Boone Township, PA, has proposed a natural gas compressor station industrial development on land purchased from the Polish National Church located northeast of SR 3010 on a private access road in Dimmock Township. The plan shows 1 compressor building to house 3 compressor engines at present and 5 compressor engines in the future. In reviewing the plan, the following items are called to your attention. 1, by definition, this is a natural gas compressor station type of industrial development. 2, application, affidavit of ownership and filing fee have been received. 3, site development plans were prepared by George Haberman, PE, of Civil and Environmental Consultants, INC, Pittsburgh, PA. 4, Williams Field Services has purchased 68 acres from the Polish National Church. Williams proposes to erect 1 60-foot by 360.5 feet compressor building, which will house a total of 8 compressor engines, a 10.5-foot by 41.5-foot control building, a 10.5 by 41-foot electrical building, and various equipment necessary for the processing of the natural gas. 5, access to the site is by way of a private drive off from SR 3010 that was built as part of the Williams development of a gathering pipeline. A wetland crossing permit was issued by DEP and a driveway permit was issued by PennDOT for this private road. Williams has requested a waiver of section 603.7A, length of the private access drive, to allow the access drive to be longer than the required 800 feet in length. Williams has proposed a 1,028 feet long access road in order to minimize the disturbance and impacts to existing wetlands and ponds. 6, an application for an ESC GP-1 permit to address erosion and sediment control in stormwater has been submitted to DEP for their approval. DEP approval of this permit is required prior to preliminary approval. 7, a waiver of sewer planning has been received from the Council of Governments since the development will be unmanned and will not cause any sewage flow. 8, the residents in the area of the proposed station are at least 1,700 feet away from the station and therefore were not shown on the drawing. A noise impact analysis was performed for the site, which includes the distance to the neighboring houses. The proposed compressor buildings will meet the ordinance requirement of 50 dBA or less. Williams will contract with a sound engineering company to perform a study to determine the actual decibel level and to verify compliance with the ordinance when the building is complete and final approval of the plan is requested. 9, screening is proposed as shown on sheet C700. The existing trees shown on the plan will remain. 10, a 6-foot-high security fence topped with barbed wire will surround the buildings and equipment. 11, the Dimmock Township supervisors were notified on December 6th. Their next regular meeting is scheduled for January 7th, 2013. Staff recommendation is grant the waiver of section 603.78, length of the access drive in order to minimize the disturbance and impact to existing wetlands and ponds. Grant preliminary approval of the Williams Field Services / Church Compressor Station plan condition on receipt of the ESC GP-1 approval from DEP and receipt of the municipality report form from the Dimmock Township supervisors within the commission's allowable review period.
I'm sorry. 800 feet, the ordinance calls for 800 feet. Yeah, that's the right.
We don't issue permits. DEP are the ones that issue all the permits.
Okay. Now, Williams gave us a decibel reading. I know there's a lot of people here for this compressor station. There's a one person that's a spokesperson, so if I need to ask a question, I can address the one person. Paul, are you the person?
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right. Here's a copy of that policy. Just make sure I get that back.
You got it, thank you.
Like I said, I'll open the floor for communications during that section, but I know a lot of you are going to have some questions. I'd like to address Paul when we do have a question that we can't answer. We'll talk about it. Paul did earlier. I guess everybody was here. There might have been one or two that came in late. Talked about the decimal readings that Williams took to the Lake Brook plant in proximity to his house and Jerry's house. Okay. Now on to address the two letters that came in here. As far as the DEP concerned, what can we do?
Well, do you want me to address that?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll throw this out, and then I'll ask William to help me out. I got the petition, was it yesterday or not, or last week, whenever. So first of all, the reference is a permit, as Eleanor just said, planning commission doesn't give a permit, but permits are granted by building, like a building permit or sewer permit, or in this case, an air quality permit from DEP. I just wanted to assure the crowd that nothing, now I'm not on the planning, I'm the planning director, I don't vote. Okay, the planning commission, as you heard, just the last one, I can make a recommendation, Eleanor can make a recommendation, they can, not take our recommendation and do, whatever the planning commission sees fit. Just so that the crowd knows, that the action that the planning commission takes in no absolute way precludes you from meeting with DEP. okay? Just because the planning commission may or may not approve this plan doesn't mean that you can't meet with DEP. DEP will meet with you, I understand, as long as you ask them to, or as long as you show enough interest in doing that. That's the way I understand. You're saying no?
They've denied us.
Okay, but the planning commission cannot force them then to do, what I'm trying to say is, these are two separate actions. Planning commission would take action or not, and DEP will allow you a public hearing or not, but the two are mutually exclusive.
No, we're just asking for more time. You have the project to take 90
I
days.
understand. Well, I just wanted to know that, the planning commission action does not say, oh, well, now DEP's out of it and has no say. That's not true.
Where are we in the 90-day review period?
Well, this is the first time you're looking at it. 90 days starts with this meeting, so you have 90 days. Now, the other thing, talking to a county commissioner about another project, not this project, okay? Another project on the agenda. I asked the county commissioner if he thought that the planning commission, by not taking action, could jeopardize, could be taken to court, basically, for not taking action, or for taking action on that one thing where there's a driveway issue, okay? His answer was he would see that the planning commission could be taken to court more readily for not taking action when it meets the ordinance. If it meets the ordinance, you have to approve it, whether you like it or not. You have to, because if you don't approve it, you have to show specific section of the ordinance that it doesn't meet. So I want to throw that out too. And again, I can't say enough that the planning commission action does not preclude DEP, does not have any influence on DEP. There's an air quality permit required. There's a building permit in this instance from COG, because COG is Plymouth Township's building permit people, so they still need to go to COG and get a building permit. They need that ESCGP1 permit, which comes from DEP. So there's a few other permits needed other than planning commission approval. I hope that addressed that.
Well, the ordinance is for 55D.
Right.
You say you need a valid reason to table this? On Williams' website, they state that any compressor station built in a noise-sensitive area, that's any area defined as having a residence, school, or a hospital nearby, the facility that they design will be based upon FERC, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission policies. Those policies limit the noise to 55 dBA. And then I quote exactly from their website. They follow that by saying 55 dBA. This is the approximate equivalent sound of a normal household refrigerator. Now I ask you, as a planning commission, are we going to accept this? Go on their website and read it. Go under compressor stations, and there's a paragraph on sound. Now, you're voting on something here tonight. If you're voting to accept this company's proposal, I say we need more time. And as a resident of Susquehanna County, I'm asking for more time to validate some of this information.
Well, if they're saying that this would be FERC, which is the equivalent of a refrigerator in a house.
Right, that's exactly,
Okay,
exact
that's-
words on their site.
Then that's what they're held to. That's what they are.
So that if the
publicizing.
noise at my house, which is 1,700 feet from this station, is louder than my refrigerator, which is 20 feet from my bedroom, then I would have,
would
could
think
I
you-
come back here?
Not here. We're not the ones that do it.
Well, you have an
That's right.
ordinance for sound. There's a county ordinance now on this compressor station for
50
sound.
50 decibels.
My point earlier was the type of sound that is emitted, low frequency. And as I said, the low frequency sound waves go around obstacles and cause some health issues. And that's what my biggest concern is, because those sound waves will go right through a wall of your house. And Jerry is the #1 man for sound.
Yeah, I hear a lot of noise.
And that's what I'm concerned. Now, they can prevent that by technology and doing it differently. In the Lathrop station, the motors themselves that do the compressing drive the fans. There are other methods that they can use, which is an electric fan, and Mike Dickinson told me this, that they can use electric fans and can point that upward, so it doesn't create a problem for surrounding people.
Who's Mike Dickinson?
Mike Dickinson, his title, Helen, is what, regional manager?
Operations manager for Appalachian Basin area.
Yes, for the whole area. He's located in Clinton County. And it's, my concern is what type are they going to do? Are they going to do there's nothing on the plans that says we're going to do electric, we're going to decrease the sound by using electric. We're in a Category 1 area, and we're not heavily populated. But we have people that live here. And that's, what I wanted to say is, can we find out more information about the noise levels and how they're going to dissipate it in regard to low-frequency waves?
The compressor stations can be built many different ways, but to make them quieter, you have to spend more money. I think that's an issue right now. This is a profit-making corporation. They want to get this thing built as cheaply as possible.
Well, and Julie may want to jump in too, but Williams, I work for Williams. I have to tell you, I can't remember that website, but that's
It's the Williams website.
I understand. I haven't read every page.
It's their home.
I understand. I haven't read every page. So if you want to send a link to me, I'd be interested in seeing it. But what's important to understand is that, in point of fact, Susquehanna County's ordinance requires us to exceed the FERC regulations. We have to meet a 50 decibel standard. We're going to do a number of things. I mean, understand that Williams didn't construct Lathrop compressor station or the Teal compressor station. We've done a lot of work to help make those quieter, and our goal is to meet the ordinance, even though those compressor stations were constructed before the ordinance was in place. We feel it's important to meet that ordinance, which again is 50 dB, which is lower than the FERC regulation. And so we're taking a different approach and probably a more informed approach when we construct the new stations. We are conducting sound surveys, as you mentioned in the description. We're conducting sound surveys. They're going to tell us a little bit about, or actually a lot about, the geography and how noise functions in this specific area where the compressor station is planned. And then we're going to, we have certain equipment that is selected. There are a number of criteria that are considered. One of those criteria is sound. These are technologies that have been in existence for a little bit, and the industry knows how that equipment functions, and so they're able to run models. We use the sound surveys to help inform the models, and they run those models to ensure that once you construct the facility, it's going to meet the ordinance. We can't afford, you said we're a business, it's true, we can't afford to construct a facility that, once complete, doesn't meet the ordinance, and we can't operate it. So we're very, we'd be happy to, I'm not sure the Plan Commission is the right place, but happy to talk to residents, and I'd really welcome the opportunity to get your contact information, give you mine, and we're happy to have some time to talk to you.
Yeah, I really want to go through Paul. I know you, this man here got in here, but if you would.
I would just like to ask the committee, whatever's written on their proposal, that before you give any commits for what she was just saying, that it's in black and white. She shouldn't have to ask for a link. She should know what they have to say. Therefore, if she doesn't know what their link says, the planning board should know in writing on what they're saying. So when you approve something, then you can say, okay, this is not the way Williams said they were going to do, and we have something to stand on. We don't have some, is it written there?
Yeah, this is the paper that
Okay.
Paul has it right now.
Okay,
And this is the ambient sound levels that they're estimating. Obviously, the plant isn't built, but this is the estimated dB readings that they'll get from that area. And they're close to the 50, but they are not 50. They're 42, 40, 40, 36.
This is also before it's built. After it's built, it has to be tested.
Yeah, it has to be, and it has to meet the 50. If it doesn't meet the 50, then it won't get final approval.
These numbers are
No,
for a
Jerry,
plant that hasn't been built yet?
Yes.
Yes.
That's wonderful. How do you?
they're based on models,
On models.
Now, I'm not going to open this up. We'll have this when we do communications. But I want to go, if I have a question, if the board has a question, I'm going to go through Paul.
Matt, I'd like to say something. Our ordinance says 50 decibels, and I don't think we can go beyond that. If there's something in Williams's website that says something else, that's beyond us.
And they're making a comparison, if they are making a comparison, and I have no reason to doubt it, but I know there was a sound engineer.
There's probably
that came in
14,000
here.
web pages. I mean, I'd be interested to see it, but.
There was a sound engineer that came in way back, maybe a year ago, when we were developing the ordinance. And they made the statement, I forget the guy, I think it was Paul said.
Yeah.
He said that you're talking at 65 decibels right now. We're talking at 65 decibels.
Is this FERC, this one FERC approved or not?
It is not a FERC regulated.
That's what I
It's not
thought.
FERC regulated. The
FERC
FERC
only
would regulate
regulates
Transco, which is an interstate pipeline, and they would have different regulations to meet, which that's what they could have read on the website. But this is a midstream
Right.
gathering operation, which is not under FERC regulation.
Right, thank you.
So you have to compare apples to apples.
And again, 50 is lower than the
Than 55.
55. We have a legal obligation to meet that.
And the point being that you have to propose some, I mean, not you don't have to propose something, you have to model something, but the proof is when, after you build it, and they go out and do the test, that it has to meet 50. If it doesn't, as you said, you can't operate. You're not gonna get final approval, so it has to.
Yeah.
So delaying action is not going to help that matter at all. You know what I mean? What's the point of delay? I don't know.
And then DEP, correct me if I'm wrong, but DEP, if they find that there's a problem, say we gave approval, preliminary approval tonight, DEP came in and said the emissions test, they don't agree with them, or they're in violation, they can shut the plant down.
They wouldn't get a permit to operate. That's what I was trying to say before, that this action and then the Reed's action are two separate things. One doesn't rely on the other. Well, we rely more on them than we rely on them.
There's one other thing on the map, they've got courses and distances again, signed by an engineer. On page C100.
Well, if that was reason to reject the other one, then why are we gonna reject this one?
Listen, I would like you to go through Paul, you talk to Paul, and let Paul address it, please.
Question, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Chad, as I understood some of the letters that came in, the Reed, Garden and so on, the concern they had was that this is the third compressor station in the
Yeah,
area.
Yeah, third one within a mile of each other.
And Lathrop is one of those, correct?
Right, Lathrop Shields.
And Lathrop was put in place before the ordinance, so we can't control,
Lathrop, we,
can't control it. Is there a silver lining here for the residents if this third one is approved and it has to follow the 50 decibel level? If additional noise is coming from Lathrop, would that require, in order to get approval at the end with the 50 decibels, would that require
I would
more
think.
to the Lathrop
Yeah,
station
I
to reduce the noise level, which would reduce the overall noise level going out to the residents?
I would think it would. They'd have to do
I
something.
mean, there may be a silver lining in
Yeah.
putting the third one in.
And they're at the estimated total sound level contribution of the station is 42.9. Now, remember, 50 is what is required. 40.4, 40.1, 36.7. I don't know what low frequencies, Paul, that's gonna, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not a sound engineer, I have no background in it. So, but I think, as you said, Bernie, I think, in a way, that would be a good thing.
It might help.
It might help, it might help that,
They may have to go back and do more to the Lathrop station to reduce that noise level in order to meet the noise requirements for the church.
Combined.
there is a level in there.
Mr. Chairman, in there presently, the governor has EPA in court over one of our organizations that is going to change the level from 50 to 55. So we may, if he prevails, we will be required to hold the level at 55.
Yeah, there is Act 13.
We don't know, we have to come back.
Paul, can you come here for a second?
Sure. Yeah, John, I don't see anything on here either, but this is the land, the survey information was, last month we had the subdivision of this land, so they should have put something on here to reference what the surveyor was that did that, yeah.
Made a note of that, didn't we?
Right, yeah, because we still have this, the survey, the subdivision has not been given final approval, we're still waiting for something, I think. Township. Yeah.
What about on C-100?
Okay, yeah,
References number 2,
okay.
existing survey,
Is it on there?
C-100?
C-100,
Oh, down the bottom, okay.
number 2, references number 2. Does that cover it?
All right, I
Can you read that, Tony, one thing?
All it says though is provided by civil and environmental consultants. It doesn't say that,
Well, that would have been
Incorporated.
That's the corporation.
survey last month.
thought I looked at all the notes, but it's a little gray area there.
On this larger map?
No, I can read
Okay.
this.
Yeah, this, that's another question I had for the planning commission. We tried something new with these small maps. I don't know if it's working or not, but we tried to save paper. You like them? They get a little hard to read. I don't know. Is that good enough, or would you like?
Well, I'd like to know they got a surveyor on staff.
Julie, do you know?
But I think it would be,
Yes, CEC does have certified land surveyors.
Well, this is a civil and environmental.
CEC, yeah, civil and environmental engineers.
Okay.
They surveyed it, they're the engineering firm that, the survey and engineering firm that prepared the plans. So they have certified surveyors and professional engineers that do the work. So in the future, we can include the name of the certified professional land surveyor on the plans.
It would be better if you did.
It was on the subdivision plans, but we'll put it on the existing conditions plans also.
Now, you heard what I said earlier about licenses.
Yes, I did.
What's that?
Since this references that if they did survey, that would be their license, that would be on the line,
Is
not.
that right?
Yeah, it is, but basically, but no, we're not supposed to accept it without,
Should the name of the,
Without
Yeah.
a stamp?
as surveyed by Joe Smith,
right. That's
registered?
what we've been requiring of the local engineers when they design something that was surveyed by somebody.
If this is a copy of that survey, and we have that survey, and it is.
Yeah, we had the survey for
We have the
this one
survey.
last month, but as a subdivision, right? But John's saying on this map, which is going to be recorded separately from that survey map.
Right.
For future, because in the future, maybe somebody looking at this might not read the survey.
Yeah, if a competitor, let's say, has a little grudge or something, and they see this, and, here's an engineer doing surveys, and he's not allowed to, so he can get himself in trouble.
No, we were talking about the survey, we found some information here, but, I don't know, could that be done on an as-built? As long as you remember.
As long as a recorded one
Yeah, it's,
has the right
you
information
know how
on
these
it.
things go, things change. And it's up to you, if you want it on the preliminary.
This is not gonna be recorded.
But, well, okay, let's say it that way, then we get wherever we go. That the recorded copy has to contain.
Is reference
Okay.
to an existing survey by a registered surveyor, or a copy of the surveyor's stamp and signature.
Yeah, we have the subdivision plan, we had it here last month.
Yeah.
We're waiting for, what is it, we're waiting for township review?
Yeah. That was the one that Esther didn't get the municipality.
Right, that's right.
And then you sent her the report form. and-
Yeah, that was the
and
only
they
thing.
didn't have
We
it.
got the approved waiver,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the minutes from that, we got the approved sewer waiver, so we're still waiting for the municipal report
Yeah.
form. Yeah, it's odd.
Probably they didn't take any action, and so they're waiting for the January meeting.
I thought,
I don't know.
Okay, does anybody else on the board have a question or concern?
I would say as long as we have 90 days, I don't see why we couldn't let it go for another month. Not make a decision if we do have 90 days, give these people a chance to.
what ordinance provision do we write for that action? What does it not meet that that you're saying?
You're saying it meets everything.
Well,
except for-
except for
Waiver on
the waiver, the ESCGP one, we're asking for, or they're asking for a waiver of the wetland. In other words, John, and all planning commission members, that, when we write the, it's easy to say, let's wait, but you have to give a reason. When you, in Article 3, that says, you have to review it, and if it's, you can do one of three things. You can, table it for more information again. You could deny it or you could approve it. You can approve it with conditions, but you have to cite conditions in the ordinance that the plan does not meet to deny it or delay it, I would say.
Is it enough to say that it concerns the safety, health, and welfare of the neighbors?
Okay, I'll just play devil's advocate, and then what next month? What are you going to know next month that you don't know now? I don't know.
Paul, what is it that you want here? Can you?
Well, what I would like to find out
Yeah.
is the compressor stations, the Shields and the church, the church is the one you're acting on here, is type of fans or cooling capabilities that the unit is going to have. Is it going to be similar to the Lathrop station, and it will meet the requirements, but it still has a devastating effect because of the low frequency emissions? So that's what I'd like to have more information so that the people around that particular area can feel comfortable that it's being built with them in mind, and with the safeguards in mind, that it's going to do it.
Can you address that? Or-
Williams has submitted the ambient sound study to the board, which Paul has a copy of, which outlines the ambient sound study that we performed and proposed equipment and the orientation of the station. So that's in the report that we've submitted to you.
But what Paul said, that you could use electric motors or?
Yeah, and there's also too, a Dresser Rand company has developed duct resonators, which greatly reduce the incoming and outgoing air. It's a new technology. It's been recently developed in the last 2 years. And maybe that's something that can be incorporated in this to reduce those particular problems.
Well, and there are a number of technologies that can be considered, but I think it's important to know that DEP reviews the equipment and has a right to approve it or say not good enough. You've got to use different equipment. I will say that typically what they're reviewing for is emissions.
Right, DEP has nothing to do with sound. They don't care about sound.
Right,
That's-
but what we do have to do is meet the 50 decibel requirement by the county,
No matter how you do that.
no matter how we do that.
Well, let's go back to that 50 decibel requirement and FERC requirements of decibels. That's up in the air because of Act 13. And it might behoove us to put that on hold for another month. We have some more time now before we will know about Act 13. We have to do it within the 90 days, but so long as we do it within the 90 days, if we delay the decision so that we don't have to turn around and change our decision on it, maybe that's the direction we should go, to let it stay open. And at the same time, that gives the neighbors with it and their concerns time to bring those concerns to us, to develop them and bring them to us.
But that's going to increase the noise level when it's going to 55.
Wrong way.
What happens to the stations that have already been approved and are already operating at the 50? And if this changes to 55, are they going to be able to continue at 50, or do they get another 5 decibels?
I don't know what they,
I would think they would go to 55 because we cannot diminish the state requirements.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can't
it did
restrict
say in there
this.
that we can't do anything.
But
We can't lower,
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to mention the answer Paul's getting at. His concern is, what, 50 or 55. Nobody's going to be objectionable with 50 or 55 dB. That's all it was. But there's nothing that's going to address even 30 days from now at our next month meeting, any low level sound, low sound
Right.
frequency.
Right.
We have nothing in the ordinance that directs us in that direction at all.
But aren't we just approving the development, the land development? And then it's up to DEP to issue the permits
Right.
for the building and what's inside of it.
Right.
Isn't that DEP's?
Yeah, and like we just said, as long as they could, as long as they meet our requirement of 50 decibels, doesn't matter what kind of engines they use or what kind of
That's up to
buffers they use.
DEP. That's not
Well, it's up to
us.
their, Williams and their sound engineers.
DEP only controls the.
But that's not under our control.
Yes.
No, the only thing that is under your control is that it's 50 decibels. Doesn't
Right.
matter how they get there, it just has to be 50 decibels. Then, when the sound engineer goes out, when it's built, this is what I'm saying about delaying. It has to be built in order for you to find out, those engines have to run for you to know what the decibel is, and it has to be 50. So they better be darn sure when they're spending, all that money to build it, that it's gonna meet the ordinance requirements. They've got to have good engineering and stuff. Then, if it doesn't, the planning commission does not have to approve that and allow them to continue to operate. That's the delay in the review is not going to change that.
Right.
You're not, unfortunately, it's the way it works. You're not gonna know until the engines are running what it is, what it actually is.
Well, that makes me look at it a little bit different. There sounds like there's not gonna be very much additional information available in a month that we can hang our hat on. I don't think DEP is gonna get up and make any pronouncements, and any lawsuit that's going on is not gonna be settled in 30 days either. And if it is, it'll probably be appealed to a higher court. So
I wish
I
there
have
was
to
something.
withdraw my objection.
Yeah, I wish we could do something with the low decibel rate. This is all new. This is absolutely all new. Not to side with one over the other, I just like, if we could, everybody to be happy, but the low decibel, if it isn't addressed.
You're talking about low frequencies?
The low
Yeah.
frequency, or low frequencies, I meant. Is that-
Because from what I understand from Paul, it could be 50 decibels, but still that low frequency is, 50 decibels could include that low frequency.
And that's the annoying part of it.
Yeah,
That
and
seems to be
what
the
do you do about that?
It doesn't seem to be, the issue really isn't the compressor.
It's
what-
not even the
noise.
decibel level,
Yeah.
it's the type of noise. I don't know what to
Well, this plan as it stands right now meets our ordinance.
Yeah, as far as I found, it needs a couple of things, the ESCGP1, which that's just, that, again, that's DEP, that's like requiring DEP sewer approval or whatever. That will or will not come in time, okay? And the municipal report form from Dimmitt Township. And I know they don't have a problem, I talked to Esther Ray as the secretary. In fact, Williams met with Dimmitt Township last week.
Apparently, the federal government then doesn't have any control over low level.
Yeah, if they're saying 55, they're in the same boat we are.
And Paul, you've tried to contact people,
Oh, yeah, in fact, I had a conversation this morning with Helen.
but I mean, other than Helen, this low decibel, are you pursuing that?
No,
somehow?
I have to pursue it. It is something that came up
But I found out at the Elk Lakes school meeting, which was about a week and a half ago, I think,
Who would
it
you-
was this Thursday.
Who would you pursue that with?
Well, I have to gain knowledge. I gotta know what it is. I've got some articles here, it tells me what it does, but, you know, I don't know, actually, I don't know who to go to. DEP won't do anything with it. So it's just a local thing.
Why wouldn't DEP, if I may ask, meet with you over the air quality? Did they give a reason?
Oh, they'll meet with the air quality,
Oh, okay.
but they will have nothing to do with the sound.
But did they give you a reason why?
It's not their responsibility. Cut and dry.
Whose responsibility did they say it was?
The local ordinances.
And we don't even address it in the local
Or you're saying,
ordinance. We have the 50 dB, but no.
DEP hasn't given you any answer of a meeting or?
We've requested a meeting, but as of last week, we heard that there wasn't going to be any public meeting held. It was still under consideration, but from what I have heard, that they're not going to consider it. I forget the gentleman's name, the Secretary Crancer said that not necessary. We're still fighting for it. We're getting people writing and calling and trying to encourage that. Because what we're also too concerned is, DEP has a thing called aggregation. Aggregation is when you have things in a close proximity. Your air quality levels requirements are increased. In other words, if you're allowed 2 parts per million of this particular chemical, and if you have aggregation, you have to drop it down to 0.5, combining all the three. So you have to do an air quality test of the thing. So that's something else we have to pursue with them, and that's another thing I'm concerned about with the noise. I got Lathrop, and I have a very bitter taste in my mouth with Lathrop, and that's why I'm concerned about the other stations. You know, because then when you have the 3 of them in a triangle from where I live, I'm in a death triangle.
Many of us are. We have no one to turn to, so that's why we're asking some help. We're reaching out. I don't know what you can do legally, but the Board of Education had to hire a lawyer because they made an agreement with Williams, and Williams stepped all over them, and now our school board our taxpayers are paying for a lawyer because Williams did not. What they said and what they're doing are 2 different things. So from our past experience, we cannot go by what Williams tells us.
You're all we have.
Before we vote, even if we did defer this for a while, what good would that do?
You know,
I don't know.
if I had more knowledge about what to do, or if they could tell me, I asked Helen today, and what kind of cooling capabilities is the church, not the church, the Shields compressor station going to have? And you didn't know, and it was Don
Fernald.
Yeah.
But what we also said was, in part, it's going to depend on, once you have the data from the sound survey, that you then have to model it. Putting in the equipment that we think we would like to select, and then seeing what the results are and making adjustments if the modeling shows that's necessary.
And we've already performed a sound survey for the Shield station also. So we already have the ambient sound survey and the modeling, which would be used to select, the equipment.
Is that at residence in the area?
Is that, I'm sorry?
Was that conducted at residence?
I don't have the report.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't have it, so there's something.
Because if in the future to get acceptance, you have to go to the residence in order to get that approved.
That's what the law says, it has to be residents, and it doesn't have to be the nearest resident, it's residents.
There's restrooms right outside the door there, if anybody needs to use them. But we gotta come up with a vote.
So just a question. I have a question about the ordinance for the 800 feet in length driveway. Why is that the case? I'm just curious. I mean, you know, they're proposing a longer driveway, which to me, it sounds like it wouldn't minimize the disturbance to the impact the existing wetlands and ponds. Could actually increase. You know, because if you look.
Build along the road somewhere.
What's that?
Sounds like we want to build along the road somewhere when we don't, really. The further back, probably the better.
Yeah, well, I'm asking from an environmental standpoint, because if you look at the topo maps, the elevation decreases to the wetland and then it increases up to where the proposed site is. And I'd say that would increase the disturbance to the wetland, you know, from an environmental standpoint. Just my input.
I don't know.
Well, you look at the map and see.
Yeah, but I don't know what.
800, I don't.
We don't know where
Well, this is 800, this is, yeah, rather, it's longer than 800, so that's why we're asking you to leave it.
Because it should only be a maximum of 800 feet.
That's what the ordinance says, that's an arbitrary number.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, that's one thing that
Well,
they,
we've been liberal with the
yes,
jurisdiction.
very much. In the town.
We've been granting waivers to them.
Yeah, it's just a number that you take out.
Well, most of these rules are taken from some other plan or originally
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
copied.
When we get to, rehab, I'll mention that.
And I always thought it was maybe to cut down on the possibility of flag lots.
But you allow flag lots, so.
Well, to meet the width requirements.
Right. But you don't take the flagpole into consideration anymore. It used to be different.
Okay, we gotta come up with a vote here. So we have to move on.
Are you allowing any other public comment besides Paul?
Not public comment at the end, if he needs.
I'm not with Paul. I'm an individual citizen. I just want to ask a question. Does the commission or the county have a noise meter in their possession?
I couldn't tell you.
No, we were told by everybody we asked, they don't own one.
You'd have to have a qualified engineer or somebody.
But they cost $50 at Radio Shack to do an engineering study, that's different. But what I'm saying is, we have an ordinance on the books, 50 dB. The county has not one enforcement ability to tell if it's being done. Now, I was just told they did a study, Williams did, but we don't know where they did it, how it was done, what engineering firm did it, or how they did it. But that's my concern as a taxpayer. If we're gonna pass a rule of a noise ordinance, then somebody in the county, as an enforcer, might need to have a noise meter, and we might need to...
We require Williams or whoever it would be to conduct the survey.
That's a conflict of interest, that's what
By an
that is.
independent, I know, we don't, the county doesn't have the money to do it. And they probably, and I did see that, I don't know if it was in the transcript or in the newspaper here, just a little bit, that what you're saying the county doesn't have, I don't know what they would cost.
But secondarily, I'm reading this, what you're gonna
I
vote
mean,
on?
You can get an app on your cell phone, but is that a good reading?
Right, but what I'm getting to is, I'm reading this language. They're gonna build it, and then we're gonna find out. And if they don't pass it, they're gonna shut it off. Can anybody here tell me when one has been shut off that's above noise rating? Not one compressor station has been turned off from running because of excess noise. Not one that I've ever heard
We
of.
don't, they've all met the 50 decibels, so the ones that we.
I know, but just right here, this group in front of me, you're telling me, you're gonna vote on this, and you don't see anything way you can get in front of it, except for you do have a noise ordinance. And then we're talking about other ones that are already existing in the area.
Can't do anything about the ones that are.
No, but somebody can do a real survey around those two to determine what the ambient noise is at the residences before you vote. You're looking for a reason to be able to put this on hold for a month. That's what I would do. I would demand that they give you a study at the residences in the area from the two that exist. Then you will know pretty much what's going on. At the very least, it will let this board know that the ones that are right now, the way they're built now, are too noisy, even if they're within the range that they're supposed to be, but not in your range. And then the new one is going to have to either have different, like Paul said, different construction to avoid that noise. Because I'm looking at you can't do anything, the DP does the air side. They don't do anything on the air side. Zero. When the compressor station blew up at Lathrop, we asked them about whether they had come and done any kind of reading on any exhaust that had come, that they're in charge of. DEP is in charge of that. They had not one. They had a handheld meter there. They did not record anything. They don't do any recording. And the other problem I have is, which way is the wind blowing today? The noise and the emissions are predicated on which way the wind's blowing today, this minute, not comprehensive. So our concern is, I'm saying our concern, Williams is proposing a FERC pipeline 120 miles long through 20 miles of Pennsylvania and into New York. They're saying one compressor station's gonna go on it. I'm wondering why in our community with a smaller pipeline of 16-inch, we have 6 or 8. We have 3 going in 1 mile. How are they gonna put 120, same company, how are they gonna put a 120-mile pipeline in through 2 states and put one compressor station? That's all they filed for FERC for.
Where's that in?
That's the Brooklyn, PA, 20 miles to the border, and then 100 miles to Albany. They say there's gonna be one compressor station on the whole 30-inch line, not 16-inch, one, and it's gonna be in Schoharie County, New York. Okay, hold on. So here's my questioning. They're saying for 120 miles, they need one. Look at how many you guys have approved and how many we have in this county for a much smaller 16-inch diameter pipeline. They keep putting more and more and more on. How are we gonna do 120 mile?
You know, and I have no reason not to believe you, but I don't have anything that...
No, it's right here. It's a FERC filing. It's one, Helen can answer the question. If you ask her the question, they have one on the FERC permit. I already read the whole one in Schoharie County on a 120 mile, 30-inch diameter pipeline. We're talking 16-inch locally here, 20 max, but 16 around here. For some reason on my 33-mile line, by the way, I have a half a mile of it of lasers. Williams now owns a pipeline across my property, which they told us, Helen wasn't involved in that, I don't think, but they told all of us in the community they weren't going to need one. The pressure's so high in the area, they won't need to put anything for compression on the 33-mile line. Now look where we're sitting. We've had a lot of them already and more in the process. That you have the power. You mentioned Act 13. I'm going to show it right here. They constitutionally null and voided 4 sections of this, including your ability as a local municipality. You are the Susquehanna County municipality. You're the overseer of this. You are allowed to make any rules you want and enforce any that you want within the guidelines. It's right here. I mean,
I've read it.
correct. But here's the thing. This is in limbo. The state threw the power, the federal court, or the state Supreme Court threw the power back at this body right here to enforce any regulations you want. And what's interesting, I don't know if you saw that, but those were just adopted. That's the emergency plan for Bob Stroud, brand new. Susquehanna County Hazardous Materials Emergency Response Plan for unconventional well sites and, transportation, which includes pipelines. You have ordinances. This is a huge book in Bob Stroud's. I would say table this for 30 days just to understand what you can actually do, because I'm hearing you sit in front of us, the taxpayers, saying you have no power in this. It's what we hear every single time we go to anybody, not blaming anybody here. Every time we make a call, we don't have any power. That's not in our jurisdiction. Do you know when the Lathrop station had the explosion? Everyone showed up, but you know who was actually in charge of that? Williams. There was no oversight because we're called Class 1 rural. There's zero oversight, not in our area. So there's my concern as a taxpayer of Susquehanna County. You sit here and you're doing your good work. We're watching you do it. But when something is coming up and you've got obviously neighbors that are worried, they've already got 2 of these in their neighborhood. Now a 3rd one's going to go in. You have the power to slow this down, at least for 90 days. What's your reason? The taxpayers of Susquehanna County are not asking, we're demanding that you, appointed or elected officials, review this further to get answers to the questions not only they have, not only on noise emissions, but how about emissions from the stacks? That we aren't even talking about that. That's DEP. So that's all I'll tell you is the NOAA, NOAA is doing a national study in Colorado. That's what we're looking at. Nobody knows what's coming off these. Nobody's willing to look at it. And even if you have a local noise ordinance, nobody around here owns a noise meter besides any of us citizens that went down to Radio Shack and bought one for 50 bucks. So that's my concern. Maybe you could put it on hold. I don't like the sound of, you'll find out what's in the bill after we pass it. None of us like that when it happened to us in Washington. And I don't like to hear it anywhere locally where I pay taxes, that we're going to let them build it and then find out if they meet the needs. Because if you in 30 days, when I come back here, can tell me you found out one compressor station in the entire state of Pennsylvania that's been turned off because it exceeded the noise levels, you won't find one, I'll bet you. You won't. And so that's our concern. I'm not with Paul. I'm not with Paul. I'm a private citizen that has a half mile of pipeline. No compressor stations right near me, thank God yet, or I would also be here fighting it if there was one going in near me, because I've seen what's going on. But all of you have the power to slow it down. You have a 90-day window. There's no reason you can't pump for 30 days and let Paul look at the things he's looking at, and then the things I just asked about. Make Williams do a survey around the two that are existing at homes, not one where they stand at the edge of the site. That's not what we're talking about. And right now in this conversation, you just talking, not even me speaking near it, you're talking 65 dB reading average. Just speaking like that. That's right. So what I don't want to find out is after they build this, is when you put one of these out at your front door, it's 90. And then what? You really think that if I call you, it's already been built, you're going to be able to go, hey, they're above 50, we're going to turn it off. If they spend, Helen, how much money does it cost to build a compressor station like that?
Offhand, it's a lot of money.
A lot of money. Millions, tens of millions, probably. A lot of money. They're going to turn off a $5 million, $10 million, whatever dollar compressor station because it's above the level after it's built. Don't they have a saying around here in farm country about closing the barn door after the cow or the horse gets out? How about we figure out what's really going on first before we pass this? And I am a taxpayer in Susquehanna County in Silver Lake Township. And I'm not against it going in. If they're meeting all their legal obligations, that's not a problem. My focus is what's really going on. Do you know the first compressor station hearing in the state of Pennsylvania since we started this process in 2005? We've had, the first one was on December 6th, a year ago. It was when the Lathrop, it was actually for the Shields compressor station in Demet. That's the first one ever done in the first 7 years that this process has been going on here in Pennsylvania. I don't understand it. How did nobody ever want one? And do you know what Secretary Crancer and Governor Corbett are doing? Look it up. They're turning these into GP, General Permit 5s. There will be no hearings. That's why they told Paul that. They don't care. We found out they were hiding them in the Pennsylvania Bulletin. Hiding it. Only a few people saw it. Before that, only 2 or 3 people would call on a compressor station hearing to ask for any questions. When we found out where they're hiding it, 300 people called DEP. They couldn't believe how many people were calling. They said, because we found out about where to find it. So our problem is they're taking the information away from all of us. We have no say in it. Hey, we're the taxpayers of not only this county, but of this state. We're not going to put up with being told that, yeah, you're in a class 1 rural area, you're a necessary sacrifice. Did anybody catch on the news last week when the West Virginia pipeline blew up? That was a 20-inch pipeline. It burned the asphalt off 800 feet of a 2-lane highway, melted it, and burned 4 houses to the ground. So you've seen a house fire. Usually the refrigerator is still standing and the bed frames. This incinerated every piece of metal included to the ground. They estimate the flame was 800 to 1200 degrees for over 200 yards like a flamethrower. I'm not saying that's going to happen anywhere here. My concern is compressor stations are attached to pipelines. I'm just concerned. I don't want to hear ever that I don't have power as a county taxpayer to be able to ask, hey, can we look into this a little bit before we pass it? You have 90 days. We could at least go to 30, and if you find any evidence in that 30 days, you could extend it until we find out what kind of power you really have. I think you all can do a lot more than somebody else is telling you you can do, and I hope you can, because we're expecting it as taxpayers to be protected by everything you do. You're doing good work here, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job, and we want you to keep doing a great job for us.
We really got to bring this up for a vote.
Can I just make a quick comment, please?
Real quick, please.
Okay, I understood everything that Bob said in the sense, say your hands are tied, etc. Okay, I don't know if 30 days is going to make a difference, but neither do you. Okay, let's do this for the Elk Lake School and the safety of the kids, the teachers, and everyone over there.
Okay?
Thank you. Please. Please.
All right, we got somebody, any more questions for the board? Does somebody want to make a motion?
I make that motion. We're given 30 days, and, I mean, that's my area, and I try to do, and I'm gonna try to go down there with and get some sound readings myself. And we've had a lot of other things happen, but, and just, I make a motion, we postpone it for a month.
Do we postpone to the next regular meeting?
Pardon?
To the next
To
regular?
the next regular meeting.
That'll be the last Thursday in
End
January.
of,
January.
January.
And that's based on,
To get some more information on the sound level decimal and we get the ESCGP from EP and municipal report form from Denver Township.
okay, is there a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, this has been postponed, the church compressor station for 30 days. You know, I don't feel anybody won here. I'm a resident of Susquehanna County, I'm over in Susquehanna. One of the reasons I came back to this area is because of the people. That's why I came back to Susquehanna, the memories that I had as a child growing up here. At the same time, Helen, we want to do the right thing for everybody.
And I gotta say, Helen and Williams, I've worked with them, and they've been good to me. And I just would to help get some answers for you other people. I'm gonna spend a day or two by myself, just to go down and see what I can hear.
And can I say, I mean, we respect the work and the time and the effort, the energy you all put in. I know it's not always appreciated, and I know it's difficult to hold a position in local government. So, thank you very much.
That one's down here.
Can't do anything, I'm tired of hearing that shit.
My brother-in-law did. Yeah, he lost his, keep moving. Keep going, my wife fell down work. Tell me everything's okay.
The reason I know is a very good friend of mine works.
$50? They didn't have one here? Of course they didn't.
Tree Hab, 10 Public Avenue, Montrose, has proposed a multi-family development on land currently owned by Robert and Patricia Aiken along Township Road 583 and McCollum Road in Bridgewater Township. Tree Hab intends to purchase 6.97 acres and build a townhouse development consisting of 41 townhouse units and community buildings. A new road with cul-de-sac is proposed to serve the development and is accessed by way of McCollum Road. In reviewing the plans, the following items are called to attention. Number one, by definition, this is a multi-family development. It's multi-family type of residential development. Number two, application affidavit of ownership filing to have been received. Number three, site development plans were prepared by DW Wasota Engineering of Patton, PA. Took a ground boundary survey done by Butler Land Surveying. Number four, subdivision plan for 6.97 acres has been submitted to our office. The only The remaining item needed is a copy of the driveway permit as issued by Bridgewater Township. Once the subdivision is approved, Treehab will purchase the property. Development of the property will not occur until Treehab or its subsidiary owns the property. Number 5, plans for multi-family developments must meet the requirements of Section 803 of the ordinance as well as other applicable standards. Section 803.1C and Section 402.2B includes a requirement to show the building dimensions as well as other requirements. Building dimensions are not shown on the plan. Now I'm looking at C200, which is what they call the site plan. Number 6, Treehab is proposing 41 units on 6.97 acres of land. Based on a basic calculation of 41 units divided by 6.97 acres, the developer has concluded that the density meets the ordinance requirement. However, there are no calculations shown which indicate that the plan meets the requirements of Section 803.1B, which refers to Section 801.4, in order to determine the allowable density. Section 801.4D requires calculations of certain disqualifying areas and requires that 40% of the usable area be dedicated to common open land. The density might meet the ordinance requirement, but without knowing the factors such as building sizes, amount of impervious surface, amount of land within public rights-of-way, etc., it is not possible to verify the density requirement. Number 7, a new road is proposed to serve the development. No road profile or details are included in the plan as required by Section 402.3A. Number 8, an application for an NPDES permit has been submitted to the Conservation District Office. A letter from the Conservation District Office dated November 30th, 2012 indicates that the plan is deficient from their requirements and therefore has not been approved as of this writing. Number 9, sewage will be provided by public sewer provided by the Bridgewater Township Municipal Authority. The sewer runs along the State Route 706 adjacent to the proposed development and is shown on the development plans. However, the legend on the cover page indicates the use of one symbol for the sewer line, while the actual site plan shows a different symbol for this public sewer line. This should be corrected. Number 10, water is to be provided by the public water supply currently reaching the new hospital development. Number 11, the Bridgewater Township Supervisors will be notified in time for their next regular meeting. In fact, Eleanor took it down the other day, Friday, I think it was. And their meeting is scheduled for January 7th. Number 12, in order to verify the feasibility of the basic proposal of this plan, placing 41 townhouse units on 6.97 acres and meeting the ordinance requirements, the calculations for density must be submitted, should say must be submitted. After that, the plan can be reviewed and considered for action by the commission. Staff recommendations table the plan to allow the developer time to submit the required calculations to verify the density requirement of Section 803.1B and 801.4. And then, as I told you, we pointed out before, they did send a letter. The engineer sent a letter to Mr. Phelps, Dennis Phelps of Treehab, and I read it before. It states that they met the ordinance requirements of Article 6, and then it also contains a map showing that in their opinion, they meet the ordinance requirements of Article 8 as well. However, there's no, on this map, or there's no accompanying like calculations, there's no amount of impervious surface. We don't know how much land area the road and cul-de-sac takes up. They do have, if you can get a magnifying glass and read it, you can probably figure out the areas of the townhouses. They also include in the open space steep slopes. I don't know this. We don't know the steepness, if that's a word. So I think I would rather see them give us some calculations. It may, like I said, it may meet the ordinance, and that would be fine. It'd be great. But we don't know that yet.
Well, then we should get the permit from Bridgewater Township.
Yeah, Bridgewater. I mean, the driveway permit, or we should have that subdivision wrapped up too.
Rather than saying table the plan, because we table for 1 month, that continues to run it.
See, in my opinion, that's just my opinion, I'm not a lawyer. I think tabling is action. You have 90 days to take action. We had this conversation today by email. Now, somebody may differ. You know, planning commission has 90, you might be able to tell us this. Planning commission has 90 days to take action. Is tabling a plan action?
Well, I thought the action is to accept or deny. If you table it, it leaves it kind of in limbo.
Yeah.
And they can say, well, you didn't do anything, and therefore it's confirmed it's approved without your approval.
Yeah, I know.
And that
After
is,
90
that
days.
gray area,
you
I don't want that gray area.
Well, if you table it, I'm just saying, if you table it till the end of January, and then the end of January, it met the ordinance, then you would approve it, and you'd still be within those 90 days. Or if it didn't meet the ordinance, you would approve it with conditions or something.
Preliminary, that's all they're asking for.
Right, preliminary. They're not gonna build until, they're thinking like spring, April.
Ed, this is in your backyard?
More or less. Yeah, and Bob Bartron.
It's closer to Bob's
He's
even than mine.
He's been keeping an eye on it, too.
Is there anyone here from Tree Hab?
No, he is sick. Dennis is sick. He has called this morning. He had intended to be here. None of the engineers are here either.
What are the criteria for having, for rent? These are gonna be for rent.
Yeah, no, yes, they are for rent. Doesn't matter.
Is it low income or?
It doesn't matter. I'm just saying, it's not the ordinance, you know.
No, I'm
It's
just
moderate
curious.
income. It's moderate income.
I'm just curious if
Yeah.
it's, like under the housing authority.
Right, right.
But this is.
It's not, it's under tree hat.
It's under tree hat, but they're still going with the PH, or the Pennsylvania Housing Finance, whatever.
We're going for tax credits to finance it.
Because the Susquehanna County Housing Authority, aren't they for
They do the same thing.
over a certain age, right?
Yeah, they also have younger people who are.
There's a member of the board right here, so.
No, I'm just saying this is different than.
You still chairman?
Hmm?
Chairman.
No, I'm treasurer.
You're treasurer.
I still hold the checkbook, Helen.
There are so many deficiencies to the plan.
Yeah, they didn't put the buildings.
Can you just reject the plan?
Good.
Well, that's what I was thinking about.
Instead of tabling it?
You could reject the plan.
Point of information, rejecting the plan, they'll have to pay another fee again.
Oh, yeah. $1,100.
No, and that's past practice. I don't think rejecting it. Yeah, I think, I agree with Frank.
Table it with all the deficiencies.
To me, the basic thing is they have to show that they can meet the ordinance requirement for putting 41 townhouses on 6.97 acres. If not, they're gonna have to find more land somewhere, you know, which is available.
Or have less.
Or have less homes, fewer homes.
And that's why the subdivisions, they have to be approved before tree hab will purchase the property.
Right. They're not gonna build anything before they have it in their name, you know.
Ed, you got anything?
I have a lot of questions, but I don't think we need somebody from Tree Hab. No value until we have somebody from Tree Hab.
Well, you could table it just based on the fact that there's nobody here from tree hat to explain. But I think you also want to send it back so that they can amend the plan.
In this instance, there are enough items that it doesn't meet in the ordinance. You know, that you have every right to say, you know, it has to meet them.
Bob, I have just one question. Do you have any authority on their water supply?
No. All the ordinance asks for is that there is, you know, an approved water supply and approved sewer supply. How much money they have to spend to get it there is up to them.
Yeah,
You know,
but you have to have a certificate saying that the American Water Company will supply them with enough water.
Yeah. And it's usually as simple as one single line. Pennsylvania American Water will supply, you know, ABC development with water, you know. But we do need it. Do we have that?
And all utilities.
We've got the sewer.
We have the sewer, but not the water, yeah.
water.
The only thing I know about the water is I've heard some people talk about the fact that
they're marginal with enough water flow at the hospital.
I've heard that too.
With the new lines, just, they've got to actually have holding tanks and stuff for fire suppression. How are they gonna be able to tap into that water supply for 41 more units?
That water supply is there fire protection line too?
That's all they have
Yeah,
for
it
new
goes to the
hospital,
hospital first, which is going to be sprinkled.
which goes to the high school before that. I guess there's some small lines someplace in between that meters their flow pretty bad. That's just rubbing it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
and they
I'm
know
not an
that, so
engineer.
we talked to Dennis about that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we table the plan to allow the developer to submit the required calculations to verify the density requirements of section 8 of 3.1B and section 8 of 1.4 and other items that may be pertinent to the submission.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Plan is tabled, waiting on additional information. Okay. Next one we have is KC Small Commercial Development Retail Fireworks Store, Coconut Township.
Oh, that's the back. That's going to sit in this.
Yeah, it is, right there.
Where does this go to?
Italy and Jersey.
John, you have one?
Yes, I do.
You need one else?
No, this isn't the back, this is the fireworks. Yep. Mr. Casey Small, I don't, is he here?
I thought he was, yeah, he's way in the back.
Oh, okay. Mr. Small is here if you have any questions. Mr. Casey Small, 1439 Fair Hill Road, Montrose, has proposed a commercial development of his lands located along T693 Kellum Road and T766 Meadow Lane in Coconut Township. Mr. Small proposes to erect a retail store for the sale of fireworks. In reviewing the plan, the following items are called to your attention. 1, by definition, this is a commercial development. 2, application, affidavit, ownership, and filing fee have been received. 3, site development plans were prepared by Carla Sneller, PE of Friendsville, PA. 4, Mr. Small is proposing a 24 by 60 foot retail store building and a gravel parking area with room for 9 cars, including 1 handicap space. The number of proposed parking spaces exceeds the ordinance requirement for retail stores. 5, access to the site is by way of a driveway off of Callan Road. A copy of the driveway permit issued by Coconut Township is included in the plan. 6, since the proposed development is less than 1 acre of earth disturbance, no approval of an erosion and sediment control plan is required per the Conservation District Office. 7, sewage was approved as part of the Green Cabbage subdivision in 2011. The approved septic system will be sufficient for the proposed store as per a phone conversation with Karen Ternowski of COG on December 13th. 8, the neighboring properties across Meadow Lane are residential. Screening will be provided along the Township Road to screen the development from the residences. No pole lighting is proposed for the development. 9, the Coconut Township supervisors will be notified in time for their next meeting, which is scheduled for January 7, 2013. Staff recommendation is grant preliminary approval of a KC Small Commercial Development in Coconut Township, conditioned on the receipt of the municipality report form from the Coconut Township supervisors within the commission's allowable review period.
Board? Bernie, you want to talk about it, or?
Yeah, but I think, Pat, under full disclosure, I should mention that I have a daughter who lives in that neighborhood. I probably would not vote on whatever the recommendation of the commission may be, but I can certainly talk about it, so I am familiar with it.
We appreciate that.
I guess one of the main issues is the traffic flow coming off of State Route 267 onto Kellum Road. The Chocona Township Supervisors have asked PennDOT to do a traffic study of that intersection, and I don't know what the timing is when that will be available, but I think that certainly should be something that is considered given the traffic issue there.
You know, sir, do you know, Casey, do you know when they're gonna do that survey?
As of right now, I don't. I talked to Brian Baker about it the other day, and he's not really sure what's gonna go on with it. He said he gave the township an idea of what they could do on their end of the road in order to make it a little bit safer, make it easier to get on and off the road, but he doesn't know if they're gonna go with that or not.
Who is Mr. Baker?
Brian Baker is the, he's
Northern Tier
Northern Tier
Traffic.
Regional Planning, yep.
When the subdivision was approved, was it approved for residential?
Yeah, it
Was approved as a residential subdivision?
but there's no zoning.
But what is Mr. Baker doing with the plan for the Susquehanna County?
What do you mean?
What's he doing for the submission for us?
Brian Baker?
Yeah.
No, they're doing a study, no, nothing for the planning commission. They're doing a study on the intersection of Kellum Road and 267.
267.
As part of their what they call their transportation improvement plan.
I'm just wondering when it was,
Yeah, it was
if there was
approved. It
anything
was-
put in the deeds
Oh,
that is residential. I don't.
I don't remember anything like that.
Pretty thoroughly checked out.
Do you know where your supplies are gonna be coming from and how they're gonna be delivered? Are they gonna come from New York State or Pennsylvania?
They'll be coming from the eastern area in Pennsylvania.
Eastern PA,
Yes.
so they will, what, come up through Vessel or?
Depending on how they route them, they'll be coming, probably coming up 81 across 706, and then across the North Road and up.
And your clients, you expect them mostly to be from New York State?
I expect them to mostly be from the lake region, right around that area, Silver Lake, Quaker Lake.
Do Pennsylvania residents purchase fireworks from you?
With the proper permits, yes.
Township Supervisors.
Do you see anything wrong with putting a fireworks warehouse in a residential area? Have any concerns with that?
No, I really don't see anything wrong with it. Before I purchased the property, I did research a lot about the dangers of having something like that very close to it. I had the Borough of Games and Amusements, which is what the state has that controls all of this, come up, look at the property site with me, do all the measurements on it, and as far as the state's concerned, it's perfectly safe and in a perfectly fine area.
Do you have permits for having that type of business? Do you need additional permits, or what do you need?
I will have to get additional permits from the state. As soon as everything goes through here, COG does their part of the inspections and permitting process, then the state will come and look at my building and okay it.
The septic system that you put in, was that approved?
Yes, I have a permit for that.
Was it inspected
Yes.
by COG?
Mm-hmm.
It was all done in one day. Built and approved in one day. Amazing.
That building is sprinkled?
No, it is not.
What's the 1,000-gallon water tank?
The 1,000-gallon water tank will be my water supply. That is the size tank that COG.
Your domestic tank?
Yes.
And the building doesn't have to be sprinkled?
No, it does not.
But no full lighting, is the lighting going to be on the building?
There will be lighting on the corners of the building.
Well, I think we should have at least have the PennDOT report before we make that decision.
For the entrance?
For the, no, not the driveway, the entrance coming from. You understand the issue there, right? If you're trying to come out of that street, anyone who's coming south has to back up. We've got a real issue with sight distance there when you come over that knoll just before you get to Kellam Road. So vehicles are starting to back up. You could end up with a tremendous safety issue there. Somebody could get hurt or killed if traffic was backing up, waiting for a truck to come up out or a school bus to come up out of Kellam.
Oh, you can't, yeah, no, sorry.
You're abstaining.
Is there a motion on the floor?
I'd like to make a motion then that Bernard doesn't want to, that we table the plan until we get this traffic study.
Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same thing. This motion is tabled till we get the traffic study from PennDOT.
Now, who is in charge of ordering that study?
You said, Bernie, you said the township was...
The township has asked for it, the supervisors have asked for it.
Do you know Bill Dovin? Excuse me.
Yes, I do.
Okay. If I were you, I would get in touch with Bill Dovin, or any of the
I
supervisors,
think
right?
Rudy Mattis is the one who was actually asked for the study.
Okay. Act 170, review and comment, there is none at this time. We don't need a motion.
Right.
Okay. Subdivision and land development staff actions, attached listing. Okay. Minor subdivisions and additions through 12/14/12. Tyler Craig, Forest Lake Township, remaining land 11.30 acres, approved 12/10/12. Is there a motion to accept the minor subdivisions and additions?
I'll make a motion that we accept them.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minor subdivisions and additions through 12/14/12 are approved. Minor subdivisions, new lots through 12/14/12. Lori and Richard Mackey, Lathrop Township, 10 acres, 10 acres, 10 acres. Remaining land, 114.35 acres. Approved 12/10/12. Is there a motion on the floor to accept it? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Minor subdivisions, new lots is approved. Major subdivisions, new lots through 12/14/12, there is none at this time. Land development through 12/14/12, there is none at this time. Anything anybody else wants to discuss before we bring it up to public hearing?
Was this supposed to have a surveyor?
Yeah, I was just thinking that. There were a few items Pat noticed, like contiguous landowners, survey information on.
That's right, I thought there's no
Yeah.
survey on this.
Location map.
Location map.
But you said that he referred to previous surveys and.
Yeah,
On the other.
but it's not on here,
Oh,
you know?
There's no
You can't, you
location map.
could do it, well, you could do it next month. I can tip them off. John Puzo does these maps for Schneller. He draws them up, you know?
I don't really like the idea that they're overlapping the border, that.
Yeah, it's kind of messy.
Couldn't you use a little bit bigger piece of paper?
Right, I know, yeah. It's just, I don't know. A little bit smaller.
Okay. Is there anything else the board wants to talk about? Okay, public comment. Does anybody have any comment?
Hi, I'm Janice Winshue from the Dimmick Township. I want to thank all of you very much. It may not make any difference at all making another 30 days for the church compression station. But I have two questions. Everything that's come up on this, there's always been a question about PennDOT and the driveways and safety. I have no idea who Mr. Small is, never met the man. Fireworks in the middle of a residential area. Safety. 3 compression stations within a mile of the school. Fireworks or compression stations? That's all I'm going to say. And I'm going to ask you, Mr. Place. When they talk about traffic, I want you to see where this church compression station is going to be built. Because when they're talking about traffic, there's 2 main ways to get to this compression station. One is over a bridge, and I have no idea about weight limits.
Well, I worked on that farm when Stanley Pendash had it years ago.
Oh.
I took out stone wall, was Paul Spangenberg, so I had dump trucks. So I've been there probably longer than most anybody here.
Well, you'll know that the main, I would believe the main way they're going to get to this compression station is right by the 4 corners of Elk Lake. And when we talk about traffic and safety, we're talking about the main intersection of the school buses leaving Elk Lake School District to go to all the different homes. And we're talking about a major intersection for all this truck traffic. Right now, there's a blinker light there. But when you're talking about safety and you're questioning what should you do, I don't know what your limitations are. And I know there's no zoning laws, so you can only vote so much. But when you question what PennDOT is doing, and when you question safety about fireworks, I'm sitting here as a parent. I can practically see Elk Lake from where I am, and I can hear 2 of the compression stations. And when they talk about sound and the other one hasn't even started, my friend's neighbor's falling out of bed, and they're just practicing, and this thing is not even set up yet. So that's why this gentleman here was upset. But there's no disrespect at all to you guys, no disrespect. Now, I believe your name is Eleanor. I spoke to you on the telephone. I only have a quick question, maybe you can help me. You explained, and I understand, your hands are tied because there's no zoning. And zoning is a very touchy subject. But you mentioned that there's a meeting every 3 months with 12 boroughs or 12 supervisors. Is that how I understand it?
You're talking Northern Tier Coalition, yeah, which Dimmick Township wasn't part of.
Dimmick Township's not part of. How come?
They chose not to.
They chose not to.
Right. They were invited, but they chose not to join. Now, those 12 municipalities have a zoning ordinance sitting on the shelf. Bernie knows this very well, because it would preclude that fireworks store from going across the street from his daughter's house.
50 feet away.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm telling you, this compression station, when you talk about fireworks, you're concerned about your daughter. This compression station.
I'm concerned about the whole neighborhood.
The whole neighborhood.
What do you think a compression station? It would blow up Elk Lake School completely. There wouldn't be anything left. That man, when he talked about a pipe, we're not talking about a pipe, we're talking about a compression station. That's why we're saying 30 days. Please look into compression stations. Find out as much information. I know this is volunteer work, But if you're talking about fireworks and you're talking about compression station. So I don't know what laws, what rules you have to follow, but
And
now.
I understand that, but you know, here's what, I signed a gas lease, I'm gonna tell you.
Yeah, and I did too.
But under that gas lease, you know, I didn't, whatever happens, you know, I signed a lease for him to take gas off my property.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I did know that it was gonna go in a pipe someplace and end up in a compressor station. But shame on me, maybe, for signing that.
I know, but no, we can't say shame on us and then lay down and let them roll over us. We'll say, okay, shame on us, I'm sure many have signed. I get royalties. But at the same time, that doesn't mean Williams and the gas companies can step on me. I am a taxpayer, I may get royalties, but I would rather pay more for gas and have safe air and less sound. I would think Williams, if they have children, they would rather spend money on making safe buildings and safe pipelines like this Columbia in West Virginia. They never check the alarm system. So we have to, as individuals, we don't say shame on us. We say we expect more from you. We signed and we allowed you to come in our community, and yes, you're giving us money, but they're also making money. So we have to stand by our morals and expect them to respect us. And if they don't respect us, then we're going to get stepped on. So I don't want zoning laws, but at the same time, this is becoming an industrial park. And it's not an Elk Lake problem. This is going to Montrose, Mountain View, Blue Ridge. It's going to travel everywhere. So we have to protect our county.
You need as much regulations as you
Exactly. So what I want to know is when is this what is this meeting, what's this boroughs and supervisors, will they have the possibility of making some zoning laws?
They have a zoning law. They haven't adopted it.
Okay.
Not Dimmick Township. Dimmick Township was not involved with it.
Oh.
Dimmick Township could adopt zoning anytime they wanted to, you know, follow the right procedures. They could do that if they wanted to.
Well, let me ask you, when is this next meeting?
The next meeting, let's see, January. I don't remember where it is. I have it written down, but nothing's going to happen at that meeting. You're kidding yourself if you think people came to those public hearings and demanded that the township people.
Yeah,
okay. Not planning commission members, people, residents, came and demanded and threatened and actually ran one of the supervisors off the road from Silver Lake Township because they were thinking about adopting a zoning ordinance.
Yes, but that was before gas.
Yeah, that was going to say.
And
when
before
was
gas development. Now
Do you see
it could be
them adopting
different.
it now?
They might. They might, because now it's becoming
I
like
go to those
Mrs.
meetings. They don't even talk
Winshaw
about it.
says, it's becoming an industrial park over there.
We have to reissue, we have to get our
I mean,
mindset about.
If you don't, I'm on your side, if you can get them to do it,
Yeah.
that's great. But I don't hear that discussion when they go to the last meeting was out in Middletown Township. They spent the entire meeting talking about how much money they're making off of the gas.
Well, that's something that we have to discuss as a county. And like we were saying, we have no one to turn to, so I'm speaking out, not against you, I'm speaking with
me neither.
you.
I'm
We
all-
have to
I'm all
work
for zoning.
together, so maybe the supervisors before, again, no disrespect, they took care of the dirt roads and so forth,
Right.
but the responsibility of the supervisors are so far beyond, and I think they're gonna be over their heads, that my feeling is, we're getting some money from the gas company, we might have to up a salary and get people in there that are educated beyond road repair, what I'm saying. So when you say it's useless, well, things have changed over the last few years. When's the last time that meeting was held that they tried to do zoning?
A couple of years ago.
2 years ago, a lot has happened in 2
Yeah.
years, a lot has
Now,
happened.
if I were you, I mean, you know, we have a good group of people here
Yes.
tonight. You should be going to these meetings. I'll gladly let you know when it is, and start talking about that.
I will give you a call. My
Okay,
name is
yeah.
Janice Winshew,
Yeah.
Illinois. I hope it's
I've got
okay
it on
for
my
you,
calendar,
Illinois.
and I just don't remember offhand.
Bob,
I go.
and you, maybe when you could check
Sure.
and get on the calendar, and I will get a group and we'll go and we'll discuss frankly on, the zoning laws would help untie your hands, correct?
That's right.
So then when
Help a lot.
you have a leg to stand on and say, well, we can't put a store or a compression station or this or that because it's within so many miles or, I mean, you know, feet or whatever. So we need to work together because things have changed tremendously.
And it does work. We had, 10 years ago, when I retired, I moved back to the area.
Yeah.
10 years ago, I lived in Danville for 30 years, and they had zoning. It was the best thing that ever happened.
Yeah.
Everybody kept their properties nice. Jerry, you were talking about value of properties a couple meetings ago. When I went to sell my house, within 3 days or so, my house sold. I didn't have any problem selling the house.
Well, we're not gonna be able to sell our house, to be honest with you, with there used to be compression stations. I mean, I don't want you to feel sorry for me, because I signed on the dotted line, but at the same time, when I signed the dotted line, I didn't sign for compression stations, and I didn't think pipelines were gonna explode, and somebody wasn't going to make sure an alarm system's set up. And I sent my 3 kids to Elk Lake School, but I have a garden, organic gardening. The stuff that's coming out of the air, I'm gonna be eating poison in the next 2 years. And there's nothing you personally can do, but as a group, we can.
To your point about, talking to the supervisors and going to meetings, I've attended my township meeting where I live, Susquehanna Township, the last 2 months, and basically, almost word for word, what you just told us about what's happening and what's going to happen. We haven't really started, the drilling hasn't started in Susquehanna Township. We have some wells that are going on, producing next year. But I've made that same speech to my supervisors, and we asked for a very minor ordinance that would look at noise and some other things, and we haven't gotten that yet. So you're welcome to come to the Susquehanna Township meeting.
Well, I'll tell you that
January
there's a
7th.
difference in Dimick. We have crowds that come out to Dimick now, and they're thinking about spending some gas money, hoping to find out, because to have Williams test the sound, just like Mr. Carpich said, they test this side over here, they may test over here, but if the wind is blowing that direction, they're gonna test over here. And then they give you the information of what it sounds like. The same thing with DEP, I'm sorry to say, they're not in the right back pocket of the right people right now. They test and say, it's not that bad. Well, come on, it stinks, it smells.
Depends on where you test.
Yeah, so we really have to work together, and I'm not gonna keep the meeting any longer, but I just wanna thank you. I will be calling you to find out next meeting, and we're gonna all work together, please.
Frank, how long has that Sun Oil compressor station, 1 mile from me, been operating? That Sun Oil pipeline?
65, 70 years?
Yes. And it's not going now because they've shut the line down. But I've lived by that thing all of my life.
And how was it for you? Did you smell
No
it?
noise, no problem, no.
Yes, but that's a different type of compressor station. You can't compare 65 years ago to what they're doing now. They're totally different.
Yeah, the amount of gas is coming through
It
these.
still was a compressor
Yeah,
station.
right.
Well, they're totally different.
It was built in a brick building.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I did
this is not brick.
I have a friend over not too far.
This is not brick. They don't do brick buildings. They
No.
do like a
No, there's one
flimsy
that's
metal
not too far
building.
from my friend, and she says she doesn't hear a sound from them. But we're dealing with different amounts of gas now.
Right.
Different companies.
Different companies.
I thought you were gonna ask, you recall the fellow on this commission that suggested we put a very large line between Lake Montrose and Tiffany Corners, because that's where the development of the county is gonna take place.
Yep.
Plus also we had, the fellow talked about compressor stations, and the one station on the big line was particularly for raising the pressure on a very large transmission line. The other stations that we're talking about here are gathering lines, so there's complete different two there. You can't mix the two. That's why there's multiple gathering station compressors.
Why do you think the parents are upset right now? We just had a very innocent little thing of they needed to connect a couple wells, so Elk Lake School District signed a little war, and said, okay, a 10-inch pipeline. And all of a sudden, Williams said 10-inch pipeline, no problem. Mr. Place, you check with this with Mr. Bush, Dr. Bush.
No, I'm not on the school board.
Okay, no, but you can talk to Dr. Bush about this. All of a sudden, Williams said 10-inch pipeline to connect the different wells, right? when the blueprints came out, guess what? 24-inch pipeline and gathering lines underneath the school campus. Now we have to get a lawyer and say, because we signed that, we said it was gonna be 10-inch. Oh, but you signed it. So I'm telling you, Williams says one thing and they do another thing. They're not being nice to the community right now. And we got movie stuff from Cabot when we started jump up and down. We have to jump up and down and let Williams know we're not gonna tolerate a lot of their baloney. That's it.
I mean, there's a difference between Cabot and Williams. Williams doesn't give royalty checks. Cabot does. I don't think you understand that. You're saying that, being that we get royalties, that we should sit back and listen to this.
Now, royalties checks are just, yeah, it's made some people rich, but no, it's, you like to have, I like to have a vegetable garden, I can eat my vegetables out of it.
You can't take the money and then complain about the money. I don't understand it.
All right, does anybody else have anything?
Can I end the meeting on a little different note?
Yeah.
Okay. If I may, please indulge me with this. Talk to Paul Wiley, you know Paul Wiley, he's my counterpart down in Wyoming County. I told him about the fireworks store issue, and he said years ago, when he was a surveyor, ROPs was the planning director, Henry Prince and Jack Masters or something at the time, somebody was proposing a fireworks store was in Nicholson, but it was over in Lenox Township. So the two counties got together and met with this person, and the guy's standing there telling them this fireworks store is completely safe, you don't have to worry about it. And when he held up his hand, he was missing 3 fingers.
Before we conclude, I'd like to take this opportunity and wish everybody a Merry Christmas, but also to show our appreciation and speaking for the commission to our chairman for the wonderful Christmas party we had at his house. One of our perks, we have a terrific
Really, and I said before, I don't think you could handpick better people that are on this planning commission. You'd have a hard time handpicking people that are as good people as all of you. And I truly mean that. I've been in government for almost 30 years. And again, I'd just like to take another moment of silence. I worked almost 30 years in federal prison, penitentiaries, FCIs, camps, and never seen anything that bothered me or has been so horrific as what happened Thursday. And like I said, being in a penitentiary, an FCI, these are men that are doing a large amount of time, life sentences, double life sentences. And I feel awful. I really do. It really bothers me. I guess we're adjourned then.
Hard for old men to say.